You're listening to Bring Me the Axe, and I'm Brian White, one half of this Morbid equation, and I'm joined by my co-host and actual brother, Dave White. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Thank you for asking. Well, as you know, fall is nearly upon us, and as such, the turkeys are back in action. And the other day, I watched a couple turkeys chase a UPS driver down the street. And naturally, I laughed because I'm not a monster or a robot, of course, honey. But it is precarious out there. Just yesterday, I was turning a corner and walked right into it. Almost.
It's dangerous out on these streets.
I mean, I don't advocate hunting of things in the streets, but it does feel like it's taken on a bit of a beasts are in the streets kind of savage animals attack movie.
It's like Wolfen, except instead of werewolves, it's turkeys.
Yeah, and they're jerks. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if werewolves are jerks, but I know that turkeys are, and they are a menace.
I've heard that werewolves are jerks, but I know for a fact that turkeys are jerks because we got turkeys up here, and I was like, turkeys are a recurring theme on this here podcast. And
yeah. If you're just joining us for the first time, I live in a very turkey-heavy city for some reason, and they are encroaching on my territory. You might argue it's the other way around, but I wouldn't.
No. What you got to do is, and you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but you got to assert dominance over those turkeys,
you got to hit them in the face.
Bop them right in the nose, with a rolled up newspaper, and that's what you do. You get your turf back.
Well, I told you, I read that thing from the guy on some kind of animal lab guy in Boston, and he was like, "You just got to hit him." And I was like, "That is the best advice for every situation."
Yeah, I mean, they'll bounce back. They're just turkeys.
Yeah, and if they don't, fuck them.
No, exactly. Fuck yeah.
Not my problem.
Get the fuck out of here. Not my chair.
Not my
problem. No, definitely excited. I have bought Monster cereal in abundance.
Yeah,
and it's happening. It's finally here. Spooky season is a state of mind, really, and I tend to keep it over me at all times. But when the shit's in the stores, it's hard to ignore. And I'm also, I'm over here. I'm eating blueberry. I'm making my mask for Haunted Overload. It's gonna be
You're doing that right now. You're eating blueberry right now.
Well, not right now, but afterwards I'll eat some blueberry, maybe.
Because you know what makes for really great podcasting? Eating cereal.
Just 90 minutes of me just eating bowl after bowl of blueberry.
Yep.
Riveting. Yeah, but no, it is this time. It is time. It is my time. It is our time. I can't wait. It's going to be a good one. So we practically grew up in neighborhood video stores, and the steady diet of utter garbage that those shops provided us with continues unabated to this day. And there's nobody else I enjoy chopping it up with more about trashy movies than Dave. Just before we get into it, here's a little housekeeping. You want to keep up with us between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod, and Dave's over there at That Queerwolf. Follow us. We're fun. I know you're listening, and I know you got social medias. Follow us.
Yeah, wait. If I have it, you have it too.
Yeah, and you know what? It's your responsibility to follow our podcast because
you got to vote and follow our podcast.
Yeah, and punch a turkey. I'm also on TikTok. If you do that sort of thing, just busting a move, dancing, like you do.
Dancing.
That's how you do that. That's how you do that over there, right? That's what I hear. Anyways, you look us up.
I would not know.
Just look us up by name over there. And if you don't know, we have another podcast called 99 Cent Rental where we cover all manner of video store madness on the weeks that Bring Me the Axes off. Our latest episode covering Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, is out now. And we'll be back next week with another look at Godzilla and King Ghidorah with Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
It will surely be as rollicking and insightful as the last episode. That was a bit of a train wreck.
Here's a sample of this. And then Godzilla looks at him like this. And then Rodan pecks him on the head. And then Mothra punches him in the face.
It was literally like step by step. We are off to a great start right now.
No, I assure you, stick with us. This is going to be a good one. You can also contact us directly at bringmetheaxepod@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestions. Do let us know if there's a movie that you love and would like to hear us give it the business. And lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube now. Search us by name and subscribe if you prefer to consume your podcast that way. And you'll be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So, get to it. Tell your friends.
Now listen, I'm going to say this right now one time. This episode comes out on Brian's birthday, and there is no better birthday present than you giving him a good review. You don't have to include me in it. I'm pretty sure I dragged the numbers down. It's just a sense I have. But I think that's what you should do. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor, give the episode a like and leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Just want to get that all out of the way right at the top of the show because, hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Who's that over there?
Well, we have not one, but we have two guests. They are the hosts of very popular podcasts, Morbid, The Rewatcher, and Scream. They are also two of a very small number of people that I voluntarily hang out with in the real world. It's Kelley and Alaina Urquhart.
Hello!
Hi, guys.
Hey.
We're honored to be part of that small number.
Truly honored.
It's like 4
I
people.
love that.
Wow.
Wow, we're half.
And I live with one of them, so I'm obligated.
Damn.
But
We make up a good portion of that.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank
Thank you.
Excited to
Yeah.
be here.
This is going to be fun. We're going to redeem ourselves, I feel, with this one.
I think so.
Last time you were on, it was kind of like, hey, we love this movie. And me and Dave were like, fuck that.
Not so much.
It made for good discussion.
It did.
It definitely did. But
what
this
it's all
time,
about.
I think we are just going to be slam dunking and high-fiving the whole time because let me give you a taste of what we're all going to watch tonight.
Hello?
Hello.
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Someone is playing a deadly game.
It all began with a scream over 911.
Someone who's seen one too many scary movies. Now, he's taken his love of fear
Hello?
Hello, Sydney.
one step too far.
Do you like scary movies?
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a scary movie. Number 1, you can never have sex. Hey, this me. Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back. Get another beer, you want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
He didn't make the rules.
The police are always off track. If they watch prom night, they'd save time.
He just kills by them. Don't answer the phone. Don't open the door. Don't try to hide.
Everybody's a suspect!
You're not scared, are you?
Scream.
whoo!
The best.
That
Yep.
is like a warm cup of tea for my soul.
It's so cozy.
I love it so much.
There is a definite kind of going home vibe to watching this movie.
yes.
It really is.
I watch it a couple of times every year, and every time I put it on, I'm like, yeah, God, that's such a good movie.
Just
It's
comfy.
so fucking good.
I literally told John yesterday because I put it, the girls like went out to play with their friends outside and I was putting up Halloween decorations because you do. It's September 1st.
It's time.
It was not September 1st yesterday, but that's okay. We were a little early. And I was doing that and I threw Scream on while I could, while they were not in the house, just in the like tiny little kitchen TV, just being like, ee. And when John came in, I was like, this is like my comfort movie. And he was like, I don't know how to respond to that. Because it was like the beginning of the movie when she's like hung from the tree. And he was like, I don't really know about that.
Like, isn't this the best? Don't you feel warm and fuzzy?
This is a remarkably brutal movie.
Yeah. It really
You know,
is.
it is. There is the one thing about these movies that I've always kind of criticized them for is the violence is just a little extra compared to the stuff that came before it. Doesn't ruin the experience for me. It's just like,
You're just like, damn.
holy shit, yeah. Like them people got stabbed.
Oh, yeah. And gutted.
Yeah. Yep. Scream, man, what a movie. This was This was a real breath of fresh air for the 90s because that is such a fallow period for horror movies.
It's real bleak.
Real bad.
I don't know why. I keep thinking about movies like Man's Best Friend. Remember the one about the robot dog?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There was that. There was Ghost in the Machine.
Ghost
everyone
in the
was just
Machine.
like, we're rediscovering these 90s classics. And I'm like, hey guys, those are not classics. Those movies are fucking terrible.
Right. It was like there was that series that In Search of Darkness that they put on Shudder, that those like really, really long like fan service documentaries that were about like horror movies in the 80s. And there's so many horror movies in the 80s that are definitely worthy of talking about, be they good or bad, that it took 3 installments of that documentary to like really sort of nail it down. And then they made a 90s one, or were going to. I'm not really sure where it ended up, but
It's like 45 minutes.
It's like they
half hour tops.
They did like the entire thing in like a single installment. It's like, ooh,
And you're
it's
like,
so bad. It's so bad. But it makes sense because
did they talk about Man's Best Friend?
Yeah, probably. I assume that they did.
I'm gonna go back and watch it. I'm like obsessed with
I
that movie
guarantee,
now.
you know what? I'm gonna watch it and I'll be like, you know what? It's not bad.
Modern
I never
classic.
saw that. I've never seen it either.
It's fucking
I've heard
terrible.
of it.
It's
I've
so
just
bad.
never seen it.
It's got Lance Henriksen in it
Lance Henriksen's
and a robot dog.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds
And
pretty.
it's called
Sounds pretty good.
Man's Best Friend. But yeah, like, I mean, like this movie, like, what is it? Like the 90s really kind of was sort of like the early 90s was really kind of like the bleed over and the kind of hangover period of the 80s. And like,
Yeah, it's the high 80s, as they would say
like,
on Random
yeah,
Horror.
like Friday the 13th is like still making money somehow, and Nightmare on Elm Street is still making money somehow, and they're still squeezing a little bit of cash out of Child's Play. And so like 91, 92, and 94, I think, is when, let's see, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare came out in 91. I think Jason Goes to Hell comes out in 93.
Yeah, I think it's 93 or 94.
And those movies were basically almost the definitive end of both of them, really. And then they did New Nightmare in 94, and in spite of the fact that that movie's really, really good, it flopped super hard, and it was just like tumbleweeds for a couple of years.
Everybody was done with horror by
And
then.
especially
'Cause
slashers.
It was so bad. It was just so bad.
No good. But yeah, but thank God, because this fucking movie really did kind of bring things back. Though I think we're gonna I think we're gonna go over that towards the end. That it's a little bit illusory about the effect that this movie had on horror going through the rest of the 90s and into the 2000s.
Well, and it's a perfect time for it because I love that this movie is in such a perfect time period where it's like cell phones are a thing, but not a thing. Not everybody
Like
has
the fact
one.
that like they have cell phones in this movie, and they're all like, everybody's got a cell phone. And it was like, really?
And it was
I
like,
didn't have a cell phone.
But they weren't like
Nobody
the
did.
cell phones we know now. And then it's like even that screen where she's trying to call 911 on her computer. I was like,
I've
this
got
is
questions about
awesome.
why she has a teletype machine on her, like
I loved
program
it.
on her computer.
I was like, is that a thing?
I know what she did last summer when they use the internet.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
so
Do they do
good.
research?
I
Yeah.
love it.
Oh boy. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's do some facts, shall we? So the year was 1996. Year of our Lord.
It's when Ash came into the world.
The year of me.
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
You know. So here are some other movies that were released during Ash's birth year.
Yeah.
From Dusk Till Dawn came out in 1996.
That's a
There
good
you
one.
go.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a good bloody vampire movie. The Frighteners came out in 96.
Oh,
Also
look at
pretty good.
that.
Also pretty good. Here's one that's not pretty good. Amityville Dollhouse came out in 1996.
Not good. Very
Yikes.
bad. Very bad film.
Nope. Witchcraft 8, Salem's Ghost, also came out in 96.
I'm sorry.
What
Eight?
is
I
that?
know. I think there's like 10 of those movies.
I've never even heard of the
seen
first
one of
one.
them.
I've never heard of those movies. I'm writing this
I
down.
tried to watch one not that long ago. I think it was the first one.
I remember them, and I used to confuse them with Witchboard because I think there's a bunch of Witchboard sequels too.
There's
Isn't
only
there?
2 witchboards.
Okay. But I got constantly confused, and like maybe Julian Sands was in them. Maybe.
I need to know what these are now.
I know. I'm interested.
Like,
what are
is
their
this?
lore?
That's something that we'll have to look
Someone had a camcorder and $100.
I love that.
Yep. And rounding out the year of 1996, The Craft came out in 96.
Oh,
I mean,
a banger of a
let's
movie.
go.
Not a bad year, right? Like
No.
1996 had it going on.
It really did.
You're welcome, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Ash.
I think you are to, I want to say to blame, but that's not right.
To thank.
No,
It's,
let's blame her.
What is it? Forget it. I'm going to dump that thought.
No, you leave that in there. That was a
You
bad
finished that
failed joke,
Jesus
and you
fucking
leave
Christ.
that in there.
Nope, it's not coming to me. I'm going to move on. I'm sure it'll come to me in like 5 seconds.
Yep.
And I'm going to blurt it out like an idiot.
There you go.
Yep.
So this is a Christmas movie. This came out in Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Released on December 20th, 1996.
I remember because Bridget and I went to see this, and we either went back so we definitely went back the next night to see it again. I think we may have gone back a third night in a row.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you did.
I was definitely with you guys for one of those. I think you guys
I
saw
don't
it.
think so. I think you lived in Florida.
No. I didn't move until Florida until 97. Because I definitely remember it because we went fucking crazy for this movie. Like we saw it a bunch, and we're pretty excited about it. But yeah, goddamn, it's so awesome seeing horror movies in the movie theater.
It really is.
I was going to say, Alaina,
like-
did you see this one? And you wouldn't
No,
have, right?
because
you were
I was
10.
only 10.
Yeah.
So I saw this on home video when it came out.
Because that was largely a thing that like we missed out on, like really in the sort of in the day. And
So that's my theory about why this movie resonates so well with everybody. Because for most, obviously not for Ash, but and a little bit for Alaina, is that the 80s, the movies from the 80s that we still love, like we had a relationship with them mostly because we saw them either on TV or we rented them. Like we existed in proximity to them, but they were not made for us. We were too young to see them. This movie comes out at a time that it is directly for our generation. It is for everyone our age. So it's like the first time, because there is that real shitty period at the beginning of the 90s where like there just aren't any horror movies. And this is the first one that is really for us. And so for people who are now in, their 40s, and sort of like pushing into their 50s, there's like it's the first time that like this is our horror movie, like the one that was made for us. We see it in the theater, and I think for younger generations, it's that same thing, that proximity that we have to the 80s, they have to this movie, and so it's like they remember it being part of their world. But like I think for people who are now like in their early 20s. Horror movies from the 80s probably don't resonate very well because it's not a world they really existed in or they didn't exist in. And it's kind of hard to picture. And so this is the first one that's like, this is a modern horror film. Because even if you watch those movies from the early 90s, they still feel high 80s.
Yeah.
They feel pretty dated. This one doesn't. This holds up aesthetically pretty well.
It really
agree.
does.
Definitely.
yeah, there's nothing really that plants it. I mean, apart from some chunky cell phones and like
and some chunky highlights.
Super chunky
there's
highlights.
There's nothing really aesthetically that plants it directly in 1996.
Courtney Cox's outfits, I think.
Okay.
I was literally going to say that.
The number of sweaters that the men are wearing.
It's the metallic trench coat she wears in the very beginning that you're like, oh, 90s.
Yeah, with the metallic
I was thinking of like
to match.
the neon green suit.
Yeah,
the
That
iconic
suit's pretty
suit.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So let's see. We got a cast and crew to talk about. The director is Wes Craven.
Never heard of him.
One of the undisputed heavyweight champs. He began his career in New York as an English professor before souring on academics and moving over to make porn.
I never knew that.
He said, fuck
Oh,
that.
yes.
Yeah, I think he worked on Deep Throat.
I don't know that for sure. I know that the titles of the stuff that he is related to are very, very funny porn titles. But yeah.
That's hilarious.
We should say, as humorous as that sounds, a lot of people started out in porn because you didn't have to have a lot of experience in filmmaking. So you didn't have to come out of college. You could just be like, I want to learn how to make movies. And that is a fast, cheap
It is
way
an
to learn.
extremely fast vector to get you into legitimate film. At least then, when I was going to school and we were in our sort of like film and video programs, this was down in Florida where a lot of pornography is produced. They were like, listen, because you're students, you're going to be approached by people producing this. Do not get involved in it. You will never get out of it.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yeah, they were very, very adamant about that.
Like shit.
Because making movies then, it costs a lot of money. Like even cheap films still cost a shitload of money. Now you can just make a fucking movie on your phone if you want to. But like if you were, especially if you weren't going to film school, you had to like find a way to break in, and that was like kind of the only way to do it because they didn't give a shit if anybody, especially like in the really early days, like the 60s, late 60s, when it was still illegal to make pornography, like everybody's doing shit in secret. So it was just the way. So it sounds very salacious to be like, well, Wes Craven made
But
porn.
it's like-
It does,
a
yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of people did.
Yeah.
And you were
I mean, it's
right.
like when we talked about Maniac and like a lot of the stories that are told about the making of that movie, it's like Bill Lustig with a car running nearby so they can just throw their shit into the back of it when they're done, like to get away from the police as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and the mob was always involved, so there was like always an element of danger to it as well. So it's not romantic. It's as sleazy as it sounds, but it's not as sensational.
Well, and you were right. He did have a production credit on Deep Throat.
Well,
I just
at
looked it
that.
it's
up.
fucking hilarious.
Look at Wes Craven.
So yeah, he is ultimately tasked with directing a horror movie, and that's how we got Last House on the Left. A movie that ostensibly changed everything for horror in the 1970s until Halloween came along.
Very brutal movie.
Yeah.
It is still a deeply
It
upsetting.
very much is.
Sure is.
Brutal fucking
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
I can't get through that one scene.
Nope.
That's the one that's based on.
The Virgin Spring, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
wonderful film.
Yeah. Then he hit again in 1984 with a movie that rescued horror from the rest of the 80s with A Nightmare on Elm Street, one of the
Hell
most
yeah.
original twists on the slasher thing up to that point.
Oh, you're just gonna skip over The Hills Have Eyes, huh? That old classic.
The Hills Have Eyes is a bit of an extension of Last House on the Left, so I mean, it's a great fucking movie, and I love it.
The Hills Have
yeah.
Eyes fucks me up.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, you would. That would stress you out.
Probably.
It's a train wreck of a movie. Like it took them like 10
a
years to
lot.
make it. Because
wow.
They just kept shooting it in like 20-minute segments.
It's gnarly.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then he did it again in the 90s, resurrecting horror as a viable genre with this one. There isn't another director out there, inside or outside of horror, that did as much as Wes Craven, if you ask me.
And yet he was always one of those guys who kept trying to get away from it.
Oh, yeah. This movie is a case study in that. Is like he didn't want to do this movie because he's like, I'm done with horror movies. And then his assistants were like, no, you're not.
He wanted to make the Music of the Heart? Is that what it's called?
Yes, there was that.
Oh, the
But
Eliana
no. At the
Douglas?
time, what he was trying to do is, I mean, he's still working in horror, but he was trying to do his remake of The Haunting.
You can't have a name like Wes Craven and not work in horror.
It's true.
It's quite a horror
like
movie.
you
It does
can't.
feel like you have really just one track. That's
Like
Yeah.
you can't.
But
like
it's
that's
such a
that's
common
your destiny.
trope with these guys. Like every now and then, we'll do one of these like these big heavy hitters of horror, like George Romero and John Carpenter, and it's like, well, I got into Sam Raimi's the same way. It's like, well, we made a horror movie because we wanted to make serious movies, and this was a way to sort of like prove our talent. And it's like, yeah, but you're really good at horror movies. Just accept it.
Yeah, it's like, but look how good you are.
like, shut up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you try to do something else, like fucking Raimi made For the Love of the Game or something like that,
Oh my
like a baseball
God.
movie, it's like
That
everybody's
movie.
like, no, make the Evil Dead movies. Like, that's what you should be doing.
For love of the game.
Yeah. So our cast includes Neve Campbell, our Canadian princess.
You might know her from Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or Kids Incorporated. No, that was Jennifer Love Hewitt on Kids Incorporated.
Close.
You might know her from such films as she was Julia Salinger on Fox's Party of Five, a TV drama of some acclaim.
I have never seen a single episode.
I
of
watched
that
a
show.
bunch of those with niece when they first aired. Yeah.
I've only seen a handful of like bits and pieces of episodes, but I never got into it.
Yeah, I've never
I
seen them.
remember nothing about the story except that the family seems to constantly be in financial peril.
Yes.
That's all I remember.
Yes.
He is an 18-year-old man raising these 3 or 4 or 7 ragamuffins on his own. He's
3,
just,
4,
he's just a
7.
hardworking contractor. He doesn't have a lot of money.
No,
And he's got to get by in Vancouver
I'm saying
on that salary.
in this economy.
Nope. She took the limelight this very year in 1996 when she starred in The Craft as well as this movie.
So good.
What a year for her.
Fucking 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
for
truly.
Well, then she does the sequels to these, obviously, and then she does Wild Things. She does
Wild Things. Holy shit.
54 with Ryan Phillippe. Yeah, she was on a run there for a while. She's sort of my least favorite of the characters in this film.
Really?
Because I love her, man. I think she is a contender for the Laurie Strode.
There's something about the way that she plays it that she's always so like, I'm like, oh god.
That's Kevin Williamson.
Yeah, this movie really goes to show that, hey, gay men can be sexist as well.
I love Sydney. I think
too.
Sydney's such a good.
I think she's great. I think she's one of the best since Laurie Strode. She's up there. I mostly because she does something in this that, and it's not just her. Tatum does it as well. But they
love
fight
Tatum.
back immediately.
Yes.
Like, there's no like running and screaming. It's just their first instinct is to punch this guy in the face.
Hell yeah.
You know.
I named my dog after her. So
Nice. Yep. She initially passed on Scream, even though she was everyone's first choice for the role for Sidney Prescott. It was.
I don't think she was she? The alternative casting for this movie is enormous.
It's pretty crazy. Like at one point they had Molly Ringwald.
That would have not
Molly
been
Ringwald
good.
was like, I'm like 30 years old.
Yeah, that was exactly what it was. She was like, I'm 27 years old. I am not going to play. Because I think Sydney's supposed to be like 15 or 16 in this movie.
Yeah.
is she
16,
really?
Yeah. Because she
Whoa.
takes the bus to school.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, they don't read as teenagers at
No.
No, especially those two girls in the bathroom later when they're like talking shit about her.
Okay.
They're
I have got a
45
note
years
about
old.
Those two every
Those ladies
time.
are on their second divorce.
Absolutely.
That's why they're so bitter. Yes. I was like, whoa.
It was Skeet Ulrich's involvement in Scream that turned her around because they had just done The Craft together. Following Scream, she actively avoided horror movie roles, of which many were offered to her, returning only for the sequels.
Damn.
That's interesting. I wonder why she didn't want to do more.
She's the final girl.
I know.
Scream.
She just, well, according to her, she just didn't want to get like wrapped up in this sort of thing, because it is that sort of thing where like once you get involved in horror movies and you sort of like you do a couple of them, it's like all you get offered.
Yeah.
She didn't want to get sort of like pigeonholed.
That makes sense.
I would get so wrapped up if
I
I were
would
her.
too.
Oh my God.
I just like,
like
let's
in
go.
heaven if they were like, here's 15 horror movies, pick 5 to be in.
It must be really hard though. Like you want to be this like big, you're a big actor. You want to like show that you've got range and talent. You could do all this shit. Like I recently reread Vincent Price's his biography that his daughter wrote, and it's very similar. Where he was just like he approached everything with very good nature, and he appreciated every job that he had. But his whole life, he was just like, I want to do, like, I can do other things, And they were like, no, you're the horror guy. Get in there.
Get in there.
Be campy.
Slap his ass and send him in.
Pretty much. And it's just like, I understand.
No, I
Like,
totally get it.
You want to show that you've got something.
I'm just saying I would make a terrible career decision and I'd end up being
Oh
like,
my God.
okay.
I know, that's really the difference
I'll take,
between her and me, in that it's she's an actor.
Yeah.
Like this is a career thing, and I am like a lifelong horror fan, and that's all I give a shit about. So like if they were like, here's horror movies, I'm like, yes, this is my dream
That's all
come
I
true.
want.
Yeah. So yeah, after that we got Skeet Ulrich, whose real name is Brian Trout.
I never knew that.
Yep.
Wow.
You thought his name was actually Skeet Ulrich?
No, I always wondered like who named him and why did they name him that?
Who named him?
Wow.
So I have an answer for that. So Ulrich was the name of his first stepfather, who he sort of like considers his father.
Okay.
So he took his last name. Skeet was a nickname given to him because apparently he was very, very small and slight as a child, and like he had some baseball coach who was like, "Get in there, Skeeter," and so it just stuck.
And he shortened it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the one you can see him in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a child.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Well, not quite. It's very quick. He's in the back.
Oh, that's cool.
He's in we talked about it when we had Eileen on for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
He's also in Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh, shit.
Huh.
Yep. And then there's like a long, long break when he goes to school, and he studies under David Mamet, and becomes really gets really into the acting thing. And then 96 happens, and he is in 5 features in 1996.
Go Skeet.
Yeah.
Go Skeet.
Busy guy.
I feel like if I studied under David Mamet, I feel like anyone who studies under David Mamet would never want to act again.
Valid.
David Mamet is a miserable man.
Yep. Nowadays, he does a lot of television. You'd see him as Jughead's dad on Riverdale. I met him briefly at the last Silver Scream Con. He's an extremely nice guy.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I love hearing
That's
that.
good to know.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic in this.
Oh,
movie.
I
He's
do too.
so good.
Yeah. Several reasons I think he's fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. I'll save it for when we get into it. But like, upon rewatch, it is so fucking obvious that he is the killer.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Oh,
from the fucking
100%.
start.
Yeah.
But it is a testament to the movie's writing that I am just like so willing to suspend my disbelief and just be like, oh, it was
What?
Billy Loomis.
What do you mean?
It's the scene in the movie
Especially-
store that you're like,
Because they're all the whole time they're all just like, oh, Billy, he's so charming. I'm like, and by charming you mean he has like the charisma of a school shooter? Like, he's a fucking creep throughout the entire
No, he
movie.
really is.
but like, I'm into it.
We all
He's got like that greasy hair. He's all wet.
we all should have known when he said he was watching The Exorcist and he thought of his girlfriend. That's when we all should have known.
Yep. And rounding out our cast, we got Drew Barrymore of the storied Hollywood Barrymore legacy and the greatest child star cautionary tale of all time.
Yeah, it's a real tie between
Yeah.
like her and Tatum O'Neal. Like which
Yep.
one had the worst?
Neck
Oh,
and
I
neck.
think Drew Barrymore had the worst one. Yeah.
Yeah,
She stole everyone's heart in 1982 as Gertie in E.T. and then almost immediately went on to become a world-class cocaine enthusiast and a regular at Studio 54.
At 11 years
Oh my
old.
God.
Yeah, seriously.
Breaks my heart.
Her childhood is
It's
so
the saddest
sad.
shit.
She saw
I
the
remember
worst
when I was a
shit.
kid, like in like the mid '80s, and you would hear like you would see it on People magazine and stuff. It'd be like here's Drew Barrymore, like eyes red, looks like she like skin looking like Charlie Sheen and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it's like
God.
people be like, oh no, she's addicted to drugs and she freebases
But
cocaine,
she's also
and I'm
wearing
like.
like a
You're like, she's
Mormon
8.
dress. Like,
What's
she always looks
going
like she's going to church.
She is as old as I am. So in 1985, she's 10. I'm 10. And I'm just like, what the fuck? She's like doing what?
Yeah, that's what's wild about this movie is that, you know, we all think like, oh yeah, she was in like E.T. and she's got to be substantially older than all of us.
Nope.
And then it's like, no,
Nope.
she's actually
Yeah.
not. She's like, because then she's in what, Poison Ivy in like 92,
Yeah, so
93.
yeah,
She's
there's-
actually a teenager.
There's a long period in the 80s where she is trying to get her shit together. She goes to rehab a bunch and she's in a mental hospital for a couple of years. And then eventually like the 90s rolls around and she claws her way back to relevance. And it really, I think it was this movie in particular, even though she's only in it for like 13 minutes, this is the movie that kind of got her back on track as like a known quantity in like American pop
It was a
culture.
brilliant cameo. I think it's a brilliant amount of time to put her on screen.
That's why I mentioned her, because like we've also got like Rose McGowan's in this and Jamie Kennedy and Matthew Lillard. Like it's a real packed cast, but like that they front loading the movie like they do is so fucking brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
and it's
some of the most, it's like the most memorable horror
Oh, yeah.
probably in the entire genre.
Yes.
because not only that, they put her front and center on the poster. I think she's the first name in all of the credits, and so they set it up like she's like
She's
the
the
main
final
character. Yeah, and then like a few minutes into this movie, she gets murdered.
She gets
gutted.
got.
And I was
And,
like,
like,
what the fuck just happened
brutally
here? Yeah.
Now, should we address the fact that, because I think I texted, I don't know, I texted one of you, I'm sure, about this, that there's a lot of lore around this movie that probably gets applied retroactively, but there's a lot of talk about her being like like sort of an homage to Janet Leigh in Psycho. And I don't know if anyone officially from the production has ever said as much, but like, I've heard a lot of people, mostly fans, say that. It's like Janet Leigh is in like more than half of Psycho. Drew Barrymore gets killed in the first 10 minutes.
first 10
There is
minutes.
not a 1-to-1 there.
Yeah, it's definitely it's almost like somebody went to Kevin Williamson and were like, that's just like Psycho. And he was like, yeah, that's
He
the
was like,
ticket.
totally.
I feel like Kevin Williamson does that a lot because like when he'll be like, yes, I absolutely meant to do that. You're very It's sort of like, of course, there were always going to be 3 sequels. Sure there were, Kevin
Well,
Williamson.
okay, so when
Sure
he
there
wrote
were.
this, he did write 2 two treatments, or which are just like a few pages of like basically ideas for sequels. But they were for Scream 2, not Scream 3. Scream 3 goes off the fucking rails almost immediately.
It sure does. It's my least favorite.
It's such a trip. It really is.
It's a pretty bad.
It's horrible.
I don't think his script, I think, is not really what they relied on for that one. But I find it very hard to believe that any studio would greenlight, permit 2, much less 3 horror movies in 1995. Like, I feel like, because they didn't have really high expectations for this movie.
So greenlighting
even though
like
there was a bit,
which is weird because when the script hit, like once Williamson's agent got it out to some studios, like it erupted into a significant bidding war.
Yeah. I think they liked it, but I can't imagine any studio head being like, sure, let's greenlight 3 horror movies at a time when horror is in the fucking toilet. Like, that seems pretty unlikely. Maybe not. I could be wrong, but I
just listed like 3 1996
yeah, but they all came out of the
movies
same year, though. They hadn't come out yet.
No, I guess you're right. Yeah. So this movie, let's see. Actually, we got a couple of taglines. I'm gonna do the taglines. Someone has taken their love of scary movies one step too far. Solving this mystery is going to be murder.
Yeah, you see, they should have stopped at the first period. You didn't need that second sentence. Now you overplayed your hand.
You save that for the second run poster.
Yeah.
This one. We got another one. And so get comfortable. Don't answer the door. Don't leave the house. Don't answer the phone. But most of all, don't scream.
Honestly, those first 3, all right.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels at the end of that, I'm like, now I'm going to do it.
You
you don't want me to scream?
Yeah.
Listen to this.
You said don't too many times in that, and now I'm going to do it.
It's very like, I was interested, but I'm not.
Yeah.
You lost me at the second note.
Yeah, it's movie poster taglines. It's a gentle art.
Yeah.
And, every now and then they pull it off, but most of the time they're clunky as hell. This movie was inspired somewhat by Danny Rowling's Gainesville 1990 killing spree.
That's a terrible case.
Fucked up series of murders.
Yes, it is.
Williamson,
especially when you see pictures of him and you're like, that guy.
I know. Mr. Rollerblades did this. Yeah. Williamson was house sitting in 1995. Caught a documentary about the killings, which took place in Florida, right near where he was. He was spooked in a stranger's house, and he had one script sold, and basically everybody passing on his script for I Know What You Did Last Summer. So to kind of keep himself busy and not scared, he banged out the Scream script, which was then called Scary Movie. And he did it in under a week, which is fucking crazy.
Wow.
That's bonkers,
Yeah, that's
and it makes
incredible.
me feel incredibly unproductive.
Just go house at a stranger's house.
I'm just like, oh, you just wrote Scream in a week?
It's sort of like when there's a story about how, back when people used to write, like when they write like what are those called when you publish them in magazines? Like chapters in magazines.
Oh, like when they would serialize
serials. When Ray Bradbury was writing the Martian Chronicles, originally they were just published in serials, and so he was going to do a fix-up novel, which is when you take all the pieces and put them together. It's short stories and shit. And the publisher was like, yeah, but I need it in like a week, and he was like, sure, no problem. It's his first book, and so he was like, I got this, and he went back and wrote the Martian Chronicles in 2 days.
Wow.
Nuts. That's fucking crazy. Like
That's
you hear that about L. Ron Hubbard also, like that guy.
Yeah, but L. Ron Hubbard was out of his fucking
He brought that
mind.
to a dark place.
He did.
Yeah.
This is a man who kidnapped his wife and became a pirate.
That's real.
Damn.
A literal pirate.
Yeah. He stole Jack Parsons' boats.
Yeah.
But you know what? This is all showing me that I can write faster. So
Get on it. Why don't you have 5 Butcher novels?
I'm saying.
Yeah, why don't you have a pirate
Why
ship?
don't I? God.
Why don't you have Jack Parsons' girlfriend?
I'm leaving this pod and I'm going to feel so bad about myself.
You have kids. They didn't have kids.
That's true. I'll blame them.
Yep. But as soon as his agent got it out, bidding war like crazy between several major studios and Oliver Stone for some reason.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So, they were supposed to shoot the school scenes at the Santa Rosa High School in Santa Rosa, California, when the school board was under the impression that Scream was a comedy, which is something that throughout my research for this, everybody who read the script was like, oh, it's a comedy.
Huh.
Yeah.
What about the people getting murdered?
Have comedic elements.
Yeah, it's got
guess.
levity, but it's pretty dark.
It's a satire.
Is the comedy in the room with us?
It's like he hangs her from a tree while her parents are just feet
her mom's
away.
on the phone while she's getting killed.
LOL.
And they're like, wow, comedic gold.
And apparently Wes Craven, when he came in, he did a rewrite on the script as well, but it was mostly just to tone down some of Williamson's descriptions because he got real gory with it.
I feel that.
People were reading this Williamson version where guts are sliding down people's legs slowly and going, "Oh shit, this is hilarious."
This is so funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can film here.
Yeah, so when the school board finally read the script, they were like, "Oh, no. This is a horror movie. You're not doing this here." So they turned him out, and so they had to move it.
Boo.
Yeah, they had to move it north to a place in Healdsburg. It's a little ways north of Santa Rosa. If you read the special thanks section,
features prominently in some things that we're all going to be revisiting soon.
So if you read the special thanks section of the credits at the end of the movie, there is in all caps the following message: "No thanks whatsoever to the Santa Rosa City School District Governing Board." Which seems a little petty.
Why did I've never seen that.
Yeah, I kind of love that though,
That's
to be honest.
so funny.
Thanks. It's the very end of the movie.
Honestly, I live for that kind of petty shit.
Same.
So I'm get it.
Yeah. The original plan for Ghostface's costume was to make the robes white.
Oh, that would have
my
sucked.
God.
It would have sucked. I think honestly, they're like, it'll make him look ghostly. But honestly, I think somebody was like, this will look great with blood all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
And then somebody else was like, or he'll look like a Klansman. Maybe go with something else.
Which is why they changed it to black.
Yeah, that could have gone south. Literally.
Literally.
I think it's a really fascinating character design. I mean, you're about to talk about The Mask, but it's interesting in that it's as a villain, it could be anybody. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who it is.
That's why it was chosen, because it was not created originally for the movie. It was actually found while they were scouting locations for another movie. And it turns out that it was a costume that was sold in like Halloween stores. Before there was a Spirit Halloween, you go to Party City and shit like that. And in the early 90s, you could buy this costume. Because I remember seeing it, and when it popped into the movie, I was like, that fucking costume?
I've seen that shit.
Yeah, what did they say? Every 5 and dime store?
But that is the point.
Every 5 and dime in the state.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that is the reason, is because they wanted it to be this generic costume that anybody could buy. Because that is sort of the theme running through the movie, is everybody's a suspect.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's also what makes it kind of interesting is this is one of, unlike previous franchises, like the big franchises, this is a franchise built around the victims rather than the killer, which also makes it pretty interesting. I think it makes it harder once you get past the first 2 or 3 movies, but you don't see that very often either.
No. We call him Ghostface, but the costume is actually called Father Death.
Father Death.
No.
That's his original Swedish name.
Yeah.
I like Ghostface.
Much better.
Yeah, I do too.
Feels right.
The costume, actually, when it was sold in retail stores, when you could actually buy this in the 90s, it was called the Peanut-Eyed Ghost.
I'm obsessed with that. Okay, I like that better. Let's go. The peanut
you're going to be talking
ghost.
to other Scream fans, and they'll be like, "Oh, Ghostface the best." And you'd be like, "Actually, it's Peanut-Eyed Ghost."
Yeah.
Step aside,
like,
my
Real
friend.
fans know. Okay.
I'm gonna do that shit on Instagram. Be like, actually, everybody, can I just say something?
I love you, but it's the peanut-eyed ghost.
I have a hot take.
Yep.
It is. Actually, I love you, Alaina, but really, you need to get it right, okay? It's the best I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it online, but I will
do it right here, right now.
Yeah, and I really don't like the way that you pronounce the word exactly.
Shots fired.
Whoa!
It's okay because it's coming from me.
A bead of sweat just went down.
That was the first 3 years of Morbid.
personal.
People were like, "You say exactly weird."
Okay, I'm sorry.
My bad.
I'm sorry, did I just like fucking trigger something?
I think you did.
It is, Ghostface has since gone on to become the best-selling Halloween costume of all time.
Oh, wow.
What?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's probably cheap,
I remember everybody being that for Halloween. And the one...
It was the costume that definitely derailed everybody going as the Crow.
Or teenage boys dressing as a hooker, quote unquote.
Quote unquote. I remember the version of the mask that had the blood
And you could-
in it,
that
and
had,
you
like,
could
a
pump
yeah.
the thing.
Yep.
So everybody had those.
That one was cool.
Yep. There are currently 5 sequels with a 6th on the way and a TV series that ran for 3 seasons on MTV.
Oh, it was so bad.
Yeah.
I've never seen a single episode of it.
You don't have to.
I watched one
Don't.
episode and I was like, that's a no for me.
No, it's not Scream at all.
No.
Yeah. I guess Ghostface is not involved in it at all. It's just like Scream.
It's a
in
different
name only.
mask.
It's a different mask. I don't
bad
even remember
mask.
most of it. I just remember being like, yeah, this is stupid. I think I watched like 3 episodes.
Okay, because I have seen that. Like, you go out to like Spirit Halloween, and there's like different versions of the mask, but they're like official, like licensed versions of it. It's like, what?
Like one of them has horns
one of them,
for some reason.
That's the one from Dead by Daylight, which is the video game.
Oh, I love that game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because NECA did like a whole line of figures, of like action figures. And I'm like, I've never seen a single one of these.
Yeah. Right, because like I've seen them, and I'm like, what fucking movie are these masks
What
from?
the-
And it turns out it's all DLC from video games.
Ew.
Yeah.
Get out. Get out.
Get
of
out.
here.
Yeah.
You don't
I
even
do,
go
I do
here.
like the red one with the horns, though. It's pretty cool. Also, in a coming, speaking of DLC, coming up in a version of Mortal Kombat, he'll be a playable character.
Wow.
Good.
Yep. Oh yeah, like they got like Jason and Freddy in those games.
Oh, shit. I didn't even know
I
that.
think
cool.
the Terminators in them. Shit, yeah, like they go crazy with that shit.
Well, they had to replace some of their more, shall we say,
I was
insensitive
just going to say.
characters.
Yeah. Wes Craven was not terribly interested in directing Scream at the time. He was Dimension's preference for director. It was originally offered to him several times, but in an attempt to distance himself from gory horror movies, he kept turning it down, despite everyone around him assuring him that this was the project for him. And like we said at the beginning, he was working on a haunting remake that eventually ended up in Jan de Bont's hand.
and
And
it
it's
is-
a bad,
it is
bad
so
fucking
bad.
movie. Refer to our episode about the haunting, because we talk about it a bit.
Oh, damn.
And I will say, Wes Craven is, and I was saying to before we started recording, he doesn't really bring much to this movie.
Well, I agree, but let me read off some of the other directors who were offered this movie, and I think I will come out the other side saying
He's a better option of them, maybe with one exception.
I think that he definitely is the best guy for it, given that it was also offered to Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, who actually directs all the stab footage in Scream 2, Danny Boyle, Sam Raimi, and George Romero.
Wow.
None of those. I think Robert Rodriguez's would have been interesting, but given what the faculty ended up being, I think Wes Craven was probably the best.
Yeah. Rodriguez was definitely a capable director at the time, but he wasn't quite there.
No.
yet.
He also seems like the kind of guy who has to write his own movies.
Yeah. Have you ever read his book, Rebel Without a Crew?
No. I know a little bit about it.
It is
but-
a very, very interesting story about how he kind of faked his way into Hollywood in such a way that he almost immediately, on the back of El Mariachi, was able to call his shot, to do whatever he wanted to.
Good for
including,
him.
Yeah, 'cause and then he made a fucking awesome movie after El Mariachi.
Yeah. And he did it, and he was like, actually, I'm going to move back to Texas, and I'm going to move all of my productions and the production studio to Texas, and you guys are going to be cool with that. And like, Miramax was like, yeah, I guess that
What a
was
badass.
They may have said that, but they were like, "Oh, Texas, really? God damn it!"
Yep. The initial chatter around Dimension was that this was more comedy than horror. Craven was coming onto this off the back of Vampire in Brooklyn, which is pretty funny, but also kind of a mess and a box office failure. There's 2 stories about why Craven took it on. One is the most likely outcome, and the other is really stupid. I'll let you guys decide which is which. Craven tells some story that a young fan told him that he, the guy who made The Last House on the Left, had gone soft. The other story is that his assistant kept insisting that this was the project for him, and Dimension told him that if he did Scream, he could do whatever the hell he wanted with their support.
So you're saying that it's definitely the one where someone challenged his masculinity.
Yeah, a child.
It's got to be that one. That this middle-aged man was threatened by a young thing.
You're so savvy. I can't
sense.
get nothing past you.
Yeah.
So, no matter what Craven did, the MPAA would not certify the movie with an R rating. They took it back to the MPAA 9 times for cuts, and they kept saying fucking no.
Do you know the story
Badge
about
of
this, though?
honor.
How they shot, they made the original cut of the movie was extremely violent, and they went into it and they were just like, the one that we really want to make, we don't want it to be this violent.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
Oh, I never knew that.
And so they let the MPA be like, because they knew they were going to tell them it has to have 1 million cuts, and they were like, oh, I guess so. Okay. And then they went back and they were like, here's the movie we really wanted to make.
Oh, shit.
And they were like, oh, well, you did what we said.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, it's pretty common practice to do that. Where like people, Tarantino does this a lot, where he'll make a movie unbelievably fucking violent, and the MPA. Well, back in the day when before he called the shots, like they would be like, no, you got to tone this down, and so he'd be like, all right, I guess I have to cut this scene out, and he'd still come out with a super bloody movie.
Yeah.
And yet, in the end, they still say the N-word 800 times.
Yeah.
I saw recently, we went to see, was it Hateful Eight?
Ooh.
Not that long ago. And it was like uncomfortable
Yeah.
many times they say it in that movie.
Yep. Bob Weinstein eventually stepped in and talked to the MPAA board. He allegedly explained to them that they were treating a comedy movie like a horror movie, which shifted their perspective. So, I don't know.
Listen, the MPAA is such a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Like it is arbitrary. It is based entirely on whoever is on the board. The whole thing is political. It is ridiculous. There's a documentary about them. Everybody should watch it. You will think far less of them.
And it's honestly just take it as a badge of honor. When
Yeah,
they say it's
exactly.
like,
Really?
you overdid it.
I mean, they would if it didn't affect
Yeah.
the box office potential of a movie. I mean, it's much less so now
Yeah.
than it used to be. But
Also, this is right around the time when like a couple of people, mostly led by Paul Verhoeven, was like, fuck it. No, we're going to do an NC-17 movie and we're going to market it based on that. And then,
which was brilliant.
and then it turned out that the NC-17 rating really didn't affect the box office that much.
Listen, everybody, I don't think we all understand how much Paul Verhoeven has done for us as a people, as a global people.
We, as a culture, do not deserve Verhoeven.
No, we don't. Nope. Ash, you're probably confused about who Paul Verhoeven is. He made RoboCop and
Showgirls.
Oh, Showgirls.
So
All right.
obviously-
Say no more.
He made, I believe he also made Total Recall.
Starship
Okay.
Troopers.
Oh, Starship
He's
Troopers.
a very sarcastic
Yeah,
man.
now I see what you're saying.
I have a strong affinity for him.
Big.
Because he's always like, you Americans, so stupid.
Yep. Speaking of Bob Weinstein, he absolutely hated the costume, which I won't lie, I've never been a huge fan of the mask in this one.
Oh, see, I
I
love it.
love the mask.
Love it.
Simple
It's
but
hanging
effective.
Definitely
right there.
grew on me, but I said it earlier. I was like, that fucking mask?
It's borderline goofy. Like it's right on the edge of being like a little too silly.
Eventually,
love
they
it.
do eventually have like a proper special effects outfit, like recreate it, and it gets redesigned in very subtle ways that I eventually come
does,
to
yeah.
appreciate. Like I do like if you compare the mask from Scream 6 to the one in Scream 1, it's way different. Even though it's in the broad strokes, it's the ghost face mask, but it's
Which one is
it's
Scream 6?
changed.
Is that the last one?
That's
when we
the
saw
last one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one was not very good.
But Weinstein, however, loathed it, wanted them to test out different masks. As a matter of fact, he threatened to fire Craven over this, and he demanded that they reshoot the entire opening scene several times with different masks.
Oh,
So he
wow.
could pick his favorite, yeah. But producers Kerry Wood and Kathy Conrad threatened to shut down the entire production in protest and told Weinstein to wait for an assembly cut of the Drew Barrymore scene because all he'd been seeing is dailies. And dailies are just like processed footage. It's just scene after scene after scene. So you don't get a sense of what the movie's actually going to look like.
Right.
So they basically put an assembly cut of that thing together, and he was like, "Whoa, what the fuck do I know?" And he ended up like showering the production in money.
It's about time.
Good for him.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Initially released a few days before Christmas, like we said, the movie opened at number 4 at the box office with a take of a little over $16 million on a $15 million budget, which gave the studio the impression that the movie was going to be a failure. However, word of mouth in the weeks that followed caused it to blow up and ultimately take in $173 million in just box office.
Shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's crazy.
I mean, it also it wasn't very well reviewed. Well, it was kind of like middle of the road reviews. Some people liked it and some people didn't.
That's insane.
I think quite interestingly, Matthew Lillard apparently doesn't much care for it.
Really?
That's crazy.
Weird.
I don't
Because
want
he's
to know
fucking
that.
great in this movie.
Oh, he's fantastic. I think he has said he thinks the opening scene is excellent and from the party on is really good, but he's like, there is a huge chunk of time in the middle that is very slow, not much happens, and it's a little bit boring. And I thought about it and I was like, as a teenager, I probably would not have noticed any of that because it's all just teenage bullshit and it all resonates with you. But as an adult, it's like, well,
Yeah, it definitely sags a bit in the middle because it's bookended by two fucking outstanding killer scenes. But yeah.
Well, and I think that's why it might feel that way because they're so superior.
Yeah, because
those
honestly,
two scenes.
there is some action in the middle, and it moves at a good clip. It's just that it slows down significantly,
Well,
Yeah, I
the
guess I could see
characters
that.
are fun. Like they
all
keep
the
you
way.
interested.
And I think that's probably why, as like young viewers, I certainly didn't notice it because it was like, oh, this just like you're just watching teenagers be teenagers. Because they even though they don't look like teenagers, I think for the most part they're believable.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's got that Halloween quality to it. Like they feel fairly realistic.
Yeah.
Also, I think a lot of the thing that kind of gets discounted because nobody really thinks about it much, but the nascent internet also went a long way in spreading the word about this one. And so
You mean like on CompuServe?
you have
like
America
you
Online
go
and
on,
shit.
on
She called someone.
CompuServe.com.
yeah. But yeah, do you got any reviews for this?
I sure do. They're not that exciting and or sassy.
Aw.
Bummer.
Yeah,
Those are the best.
there's some good ones. Because there's some people didn't like
That's
it.
insane.
Boo.
Inconceivable.
That's honestly inconceivable.
So this is Boston Globe. It's, most horror films aren't fun because they're blatantly derivative. Scream is fun because it is. It takes some of the sting off its violent images of nubile young women being slashed and stabbed by intercutting them with flashbacks from Halloween, and having the high school kids who form the film's victim pool constantly comment not only on Carpenter's cult fave, but on genre rules as well. So that's the consensus usually among people who liked it, is that it's pretty fun. It's not exactly groundbreaking, but it's self-aware in a way that makes it feel a little bit fresh and amusing.
Yeah, that's also another thing about like why I think people liked it, because this also falls in that sort of second wave of new Hollywood. Like we just mentioned Rodriguez, Tarantino, and Kevin Smith. Like his movies were way more popular than they probably should have been because there were characters in that they're talking about movies that we'd all seen and we all loved, and they're constantly referencing this shit. And this movie does it as well. So this is like if like Mallrats and Clerks are for like comic book nerds, like this is Clerks and Mallrats but for horror fans.
It's very meta.
And it's more subtle, I would argue.
Yeah. Where Kevin Smith is just like, hey, Empire Strikes Back, right?
He's like, hey, everybody, Spider-Man, am I right? Yes. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
There are some bad ones.
This is gonna make me angry.
Yeah, we're going to be ready to
fools.
fight.
I'm gonna be like
Fools.
ready to like
Put 'em up.
throw hands.
Janet Maslin at the New York Times did not care
Janet?
for it. She says,
It's on
but in
site.
Scream, he wants things both ways, capitalizing on lurid material while undermining it with mocking humor. Not even horror fans who can answer all this film's knowing trivia questions may be fully comfortable with such an exploitative mix. Now, Janet,
Wrong.
I will tell you,
Janet, you're wrong.
you are
Incorrect.
wrong.
You're
because
very wrong, Janet.
some horror fans are very tasteless people. I can see both sides of. I love being on both sides.
Don't you
kinda.
take
No
Janet's
devil's
side.
advocacy.
Don't
I'm
you
playing
do
both
it.
sides, so I come out on top.
I can see some of what it can feel flippant. The attempt at satire can feel a little bit flippant, especially when the violence is as brutal as it is. Especially the beginning is really, really aggressive. And then to sort of like make cheeky jokes about it is like, hey, I don't know. But I think it mostly works. But I can see why some people, if you're not an aficionado, or even a fan of horror, you could watch it and be like, it just seems a little tasteless to be so glib about brutal violence. But generally speaking, even people who weren't super hot on it were like, it feels fresh as compared to the stagnant genre for the last 10 years.
Yeah, because
So that's kind of
it
the
is
consensus.
recognizably a slasher movie, but like not one that we've seen before. Because like we'd become so comfortable with like Freddy and Jason by this point that like
that's goofy.
Yeah, like by they're like quipping it up and like Jason's in fucking New York City getting turned into a child under a waterfall and shit. Like it's just utterly ridiculous at this point.
It's a great movie. It's a fantastic
I also think the flippancy comes from the fact that they're in high school. Because when you're a teenager, you're the most flippant.
Yeah, nothing matters.
Yep.
Like Stu specifically when he's like, "Leave her alone." I love that part.
You know
Or
what?
like when they're like, "Holy shit, the principal just got strung up at the football field. Let's go!"
That part, I am a little bit like that. I'm like, I don't think teenagers are that.
Let's go
Let's go see him
before they cut him down.
That is the shit you do in high school.
I don't know.
Especially given the
experience.
fact that their principal is so fucking nice.
Yeah.
I mean, their principal is the
Is
father.
Henry Winkler.
Yeah. Henry Winkler,
But you know
nicest
what?
guy in Hollywood.
I say to Janet, sit down, Janet.
Me too. I second that.
Sit down. Take
Here,
a seat.
here.
Janet,
Take a
your
seat,
time has
Janet.
come and
Yeah,
gone.
it's gone.
Okay?
It's over.
Bye, girl.
Bye, Janet.
Damn it, Janet.
Damn it, Janet.
All right, you got any more?
It's pretty.
All right, whatever. So, I gotta do it. This is in our ongoing series. Is there a porno? There is.
Absolutely,
There is.
Of
There is
course.
there is a Scream porno that has a terribly uninspired name, though you could argue that Scream is a perfectly appropriate title for a porn movie.
It really is.
It is a meta porno.
Did you practice that one? You practiced that line?
Oh yeah. Yep. It is a meta porno about porn movies that parodies Scream 3, where everyone is cast as actors in a porn parody movie about Scream. So it's a porn parody of porn parodies.
Wow.
That is you're doing a lot of work for pornography
Yeah.
at that point.
It's a real thinker.
Well, somebody's got to stand up for pornography.
Somebody's got
That's
to.
true. That's true. It is it's the underdog of the internet, really.
Oh yeah. Shall we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's not put it off any longer. So we open on Casey Becker's living room. Casey answers the phone. It's the wrong number, or is it?
Now, quick question. Drew Barrymore, is it a wig? Oh, boy, is it ever.
That is a wig and a half.
That is a wig.
It's the wiggiest wig.
Why do you think they put a fucking wig on her?
I think she had short hair for something else.
I think you're right.
Oh, right, because she had just done Batman, and her hair's short in it.
And that was like a very 90s bob,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like cool
it's
girl
like a pixie
bob.
thing.
Yeah.
It's just too shiny. It's so synthetic.
It looks like someone just sort of placed it on her head, like a Lego hair.
Just like a claw came down and placed it.
It is like Lego hair.
Also, can you imagine any teenager these days just answering the phone and speaking so freely and easily with a stranger?
Yeah, I have no idea who this
Nowadays,
is.
no.
I'm going to flirt with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real sexy right
But
now
that's
with this
that's like
stranger.
who Casey is, isn't it?
And also, like, it was boring, you know?
Yeah. What else was she gonna do?
She's going to flirt with a random stranger on the phone.
That's true.
Yep.
And then he says something like, I wanna talk to you. And she's like, well, they have 900 numbers for that. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, the 900 number.
Yep. So yeah, then it rings again. Same guy, same flirtiness. Yeah, the voice is not actually a voice changer device. Surprise. It's a voice actor named Roger Jackson, and at no point in the production did the cast ever meet this guy.
I love that.
Real sultry voice. He looks like Newman from Seinfeld.
Oh, no.
Does he
I was
really?
just going to look him up. I was like,
A little
oh.
bit, yeah.
Yep.
Womp,
First
womp,
time they hear
womp.
his voice is over the phone, and they're actually talking to him in that voice at the time of production.
I think that's great. I love that,
That is
they
great.
did that.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit like what they did in Black Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm
When they
shocked.
because they actually had to, they had to sort of like surprise them on the phone. And so it's just like real unhinged.
Oh, Billy's
Right.
voice is way more frantic and unhinged, however.
Oh yeah, but like they're talking to someone else on the other line. They don't know what they're gonna
It's like
say.
your raw reaction.
I'm shocked that he He doesn't match that voice.
I'm not even gonna look.
I mean, it's not.
Don't
he just
keep
looks
it-
a little
No, it
bit
just
like
looks
Newman,
like
but-
a-
Keep it pristine in your mind.
Yeah.
I wish.
I need to watch the movie and not know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Also, this fucking kitchen that she's in, the whole house, but like the kitchen, I was like, oh man,
dude,
to have that kitchen.
All of these
properties
houses
in this
Yeah.
in
Yes.
this movie
Oh,
are
yeah.
like every one of them is like a palatial estate.
Oh,
Oh my god,
Stu's
they're
house.
gorgeous.
Stu's house, Tatum's house looks like it has a fucking like it has stables attached to it, a place to park your Bentley.
Yeah.
Sid's house looks like it's on like a winery
Yeah,
almost.
it does.
Right, because it is, because this
Absolutely.
was shot like in wine country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes
But
sense.
That
you
is
can
a
see
vineyard.
the rolling valleys behind it. It's like that house must cost like $10 million
Oh,
for
yeah.
the view alone.
Easy.
Casey puts on some popcorn, gets ready to settle in for a movie when the phone rings again. Same guy.
Has anyone ever made popcorn like
The Jiffy
Yes.
Pop.
When I was
I
little,
find
yeah.
it terrifying.
That's
Jiffy
Jiffy
Pop,
Pop.
fucking rules.
It's
the only
fun.
thing about it that bugs me is she's not actively like shaking it
Shaking
around
it,
because that's what you're
yes.
supposed to do.
Exactly.
You got to do the little
I didn't realize
shuffle.
there was a science. There was a craft.
There
to
is.
it.
There
Yeah,
is.
it's what do you call it?
That's why that ship burst into flames.
I was
She
just
wasn't
gonna
doing
say
it
that.
right.
That's what you get.
So same guy. This time she chats him up. She's about to put on a scary movie, and then they drop some names: Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street. To which she says the first one is scary, but the rest sucked.
Which is hilarious. 'cause Wes
Arguable.
Craven-
Arguable.
Wes Craven has said, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, he said he wanted to pull the line because he thought it made him sound like an egomaniac, but everybody was like, you got to keep it in because let's face it, it's, it is a great movie, but you can't make a movie about slashers and not mention it.
No.
But also Dream Warriors fucking rules. Everybody
Oh my
needs to
God,
back up
Dream
on that
Warriors.
shit.
Seriously.
Yeah. Eventually the conversation turns dire. He says, I want to know who I'm looking at.
Which is such a fucking cool
I
bit.
love
like
that line.
alone
So
is so
good.
chilling.
Right, like the way that her face drops is
Oh, they
Like,
hit
is-
it perfectly.
yeah, it's
And
like
they do like kind of a zoom.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Casey hangs up, locks all the doors, and then the phone rings again, more menacing this time. He says, I want to know what your insides look like.
Now, this whole scene, and this is kind of a deep cut, which is probably why it doesn't get a lot of mention. This whole scene is lifted basically not quite word for word, but pretty close from When a Stranger Calls.
Oh, shit.
oh, okay.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Because what he says in that, she says, what do you want? And he says, your blood all over me.
Damn. Yeah.
See, I think to see what your insides look like is fucking perfect. Like,
little
such
more
a good
menacing.
This whole
line.
scene is
So,
fantastic.
so now they're knocking on doors. The guy calls back, reveals that he knows who Casey's boyfriend is. When they tell her to turn on the patio light, she finds that her badly beaten up boyfriend is tied to a chair out back.
Poor Steve.
When she screamed, he's big and he plays football, and
It'll
he'll kick the
kick
shit
your
out of
ass.
you. Chef's kiss.
So
He's
good.
big and he plays football.
And he actually says, turn on the patio lights
again. Yeah.
Yep.
which is another sort of subtle, I'm watching you line.
Yep.
So, yeah, Steve gets to live if Casey answers some horror movie questions, like who's the killer in Halloween? Who's the killer in Friday the 13th? And she gets the first one right, but she answers Jason for the second one, which is technically wrong. Yeah. And the penalty for being wrong is Steve gets killed.
And Steve ostensibly gets killed by a Shogun warrior, given the speed with which he is ripped apart.
My goodness.
Yeah.
The speed and depth which that blade was able to go.
Yeah.
Like shit.
Yeah, that knife that they use in these movies is the sharpest fucking knife in the world.
Yes.
The scariest looking knife also.
This is all, I think it's all K&B did all the effects for this.
Those were some good intestines.
Yeah.
Telling you.
They do a pretty good job.
That was decent.
Made with gelatin.
Hey.
Huh.
Yeah. So, then they throw a chair through the window, which causes Casey to flee. But now the the killer is in the house. And we catch a glimpse of him on the run, which is pretty cool because you just see like the robes like flowing behind
The
him as he
flowy
runs.
robes.
That's why it's so good.
When he says though, like one last question and you live, and he says, "Which door am I at?" And then he throws the thing through the. I'd just be like, "Back door, patio door." Like, just give it a shot. Just
I
go,
win.
patio door. I win.
So, Casey runs outside, sees her parents' car approaching from the distance. She makes a run for it, punching Ghostface in his ghost face, and she keeps running.
And that is, in that moment, that is Wes Craven that she punches.
Oh,
it
shit.
is?
That's awesome.
And she actually punches him.
I never knew that.
Amazing.
The thing I hate about this, though, is she pauses to look at Steve for a really long time. Or not a really long time, but too long, a beat too long. And then she pauses again later on. I'm like, just keep running. You would have made it.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't stop to look at a mutilated
No.
body.
I would hope I would.
I would probably be doing like a shield the eyes as I was running
Yeah.
by.
Yep.
I will say this scene, this entire death scene is really, really mean. And it is fucking bleak.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't quite match the tone of the rest of the movie by how brutal
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
Because he
this is
chokes
the scene
her.
that
Yeah.
sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And also sound design, doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Oh,
in these
yeah.
scenes.
Yeah, it is.
Because he chokes her in that part. And when she tries to scream for her parents and she can't
Oh, right, because
do
she
it.
gets stabbed in the neck.
And it drives me nuts because I know like she's under a lot of stress, so I can't hold her too much accountable.
It's been a rough
But
night.
she was holding the chonkiest landline phone, and I was like, just hum that at your parents. Like I would be
it'll hit
humming
the
that
deck.
at them. I just be like, bah! Like just throw it at them.
Yeah. So, she makes a run for it, but the killer catches up to her, stabs her. They struggle. She gets up, tries to reach her parents, which is such a bummer. But she can't speak. Then they struggle some more, and then the killer kills her after she pulls his mask off.
Which is a really cool touch that she just takes the mask off because it's like,
well, that's Halloween.
you know that she's gonna die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they show her like realizing who it is too. Like
Yeah.
you can see it in her face.
Yeah, it registers immediately. It's Stu that kills
And even her
right?
father says to the mother, like, drive down to the
Mackenzies,
Mackenzies, which
yeah.
is what Laurie says to Tommy and Lindsay at the end of Halloween.
Oh, I love that.
Not the driving because they're children.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah. So her parents are inside the house freaking out. Meanwhile, they pick up the phone and they hear her being killed since she still has the phone on.
That's brutal.
That's rough.
Yep. And so when mom goes to leave, she stops dead on the lawn, seeing Casey's butchered body hanging from a tree in the yard with her insides on the outside.
It is.
Her scream is so good
Oh,
in
the
that
mom
moment.
scream.
is.
Yeah.
like, that's why she got the.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Nailed it.
So now we cut to Sydney Prescott in her room, typing away on her computer.
In the fucking mumsiest bathrobe I've ever seen.
The pajamas are so ugly.
Those pajamas were such a thing though.
They're a crime.
I remember my sisters having pajamas like that. I remember.
Well, she has in this one. She has like a nightgown. Is the only way to describe it. It is basically like the same one that my mom has worn for 50 fucking years. Like it's just.
It was like,
Sorry, I just called it a crime.
it's a thing.
Now, noises.
I think we said the same thing. I think.
So noises by her open window draw her attention, and in climbs her boyfriend Billy Loomis.
Be still our hearts.
Oh, my
Be
man.
still.
Well, he's also about to be real sexually aggressive with her. So
Yeah, this is true.
This might have been a lot of people's first thing into toxic men. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the commotion draws her father, who is leaving in the morning for a work trip. He'll conveniently be gone for a few days. And so, Billy climbing into Sydney's window is a callback to Glenn climbing into Nancy's window in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
yes.
Yes, that is supposedly why Skeet Ulrich got this role. It's because he looks so much like Johnny Depp. I don't know if that's a lore.
He does.
I could buy
Interesting.
that.
He does look a lot like him.
Yeah.
And in the background, we also get "Don't Fear the Reaper." As well.
Yes.
It's a really fucking terrible cover of "Don't
A
Fear the
super
Reaper."
slowed down version.
We also get the Indigo Girls poster,
was gonna
and I
say,
laugh
yeah.
at it every time.
With Dad gone, Billy adjacent to an Indigo Girls poster explains that he's more or less frustrated that they haven't done any sexy stuff in a really long time. So they make out a little until Billy takes it further than Sydney is comfortable with, and he leaves.
Yeah, well, he says about the sex stuff. I'm not trying to rush you all. Yes, you
That's
are.
exactly
You
what
just
you were
spent the
doing.
last 5 minutes doing exactly that.
Yep.
But that's what they always say.
Very of the moment of the age.
Toxic.
The next day at school, Casey's murder is all the rage. News vans are parked on the lawn as everyone tries to get to class. Sydney's best friend Tatum runs up to tell her about it and implies that it's worse than some mysterious murder from the near past that'll definitely be explained a little later on and will play a huge role in the proceedings.
Tatum is fully believable as a 90s teenager.
Oh,
I love
God, yeah.
her so
Tatum
much.
is a perfect character.
She's my
She
favorite
looks,
character.
in every scene she's in, she looks like she's about to go see Oasis.
Yes. Yes.
Was this? She's in Doom Generation, right?
Yeah.
Is this? That's a before. or
I think
after
that's before this. That was the first time I ever saw her, and that movie alone is like it's one of those movies where like you see somebody in a movie that is so profoundly disturbing that it kind of ruins that actor for you
Yeah, that
forever.
movie has a real rough ending.
That movie bummed me the fuck out, and ever since then, every time I saw Rose McGowan, I was like, oh. Even when like she showed up on like Charmed and shit, I was like, oh god, Doom Generation.
Yeah. It's a hard movie.
Yeah. So Rose McGowan ended up buying her entire wardrobe because the costuming that they wanted her to wear was all like meant to make her look like a tomboy.
Really?
Yeah. Which
Interesting.
probably would have worked on her if her character was like 11 years old, but she's like a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like she has a boyfriend, and it's pretty like explicit that they're like sexually active.
Yeah.
So for her to be a tomboy, I wouldn't have read the same.
No, because she
No.
to me is very she's like quintessential like 90s teen girl. Like I didn't get
Yeah,
any
she
hint of
definitely
tomboy.
is. She she looks like I'm gonna say 60% of the girls I went to high school with. Well, the girls I went to high school with, so her bangs would have had to have been fucking hairsprayed for the girls.
Yep.
But that's New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
I love her wardrobe, though. It's great.
It is pretty great. The cops are questioning all the students, and it's Sydney's turn now. And the sheriff is in charge, and his backup is Deputy Dewey Riley, Tatum's brother.
He is so young.
I
in
love
this. Like
him.
he's such a baby. When you watch it again, you're like, oh my God, David Arquette.
He was 24 for a whole year.
Yeah.
And he was, in fact, we looked it up when we were watching it last, or whenever we watched this recently. He was, I think, 25.
Oh my
when
God.
we
Wow.
filmed it.
Yep.
A baby.
Dewey was originally written as a sort of hunky leading man of action.
No.
So they nailed it, is what you're saying.
David
So it's
Arquette.
like that the vampire episode of X-Files where they each have a different interpretation of it. And in one of them, he's really
There it is.
Quite ridiculous.
Yep. So Arquette was originally offered the role of Billy, but he turned it down in favor of this character and is primarily responsible for turning him into the character that he is now. To which I'm glad, because there is
Yeah.
something truly original about making him this like young cop that's still treated like a kid around town.
I love him. He's such a
I
good
love that
character.
dynamic of his
Yeah.
character.
And he like never gets out of it.
No, even when he's like a full-blown adult.
Yeah.
Yep. And Henry Winkler, the nicest guy in Hollywood, specifically asked not to be credited in the titles or on the poster, said all the young actors in the movie were featured front and
Oh
center.
my God.
Okay, and I know
What
that
a
might
man.
sound a little ridiculous these days, but at the time, Henry Winkler was quite recognizable to everybody.
everybody.
The Fonz.
Yeah, this is in the 90s when like the 70s were all the rage. Like everyone was loving the Brady Bunch and Happy Days, and there was that fucking Weezer video. Like Henry Winkler was still a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So as much as it's like, oh yeah, thanks Henry Winkler.
At that time, it was like a big deal.
But
And here's
yeah,
the thing
it
is,
kind of would have.
I watch this movie on the regular. I always forget that he's in this movie.
He pops up and
Because
you're
he's
like,
so
oh.
quick.
Yeah. So yeah, on lunch, Tatum and Sydney hang by the fountain talking murder with their boyfriends, Billy Loomis.
Oh, actually, before that, when they're interviewing her, when she goes in to talk to the cops and everything, for some reason, Henry Winkler like touches her face.
Very,
in this
very
really
strange.
Weird
There's a
way.
weird
Creepy.
moment. And do you see the cop?
Yes.
Like the sheriff like gives a look.
He eyeballs
Like
him.
he eyeballs
Okay,
him. Like,
so yeah, because it's sort of like later on when Dewey like does the thing with the flashlight. And he's like, "You're not scared." Everybody's a suspect.
Yeah.
Though I honestly don't think that element of the script really works.
No,
Because they certainly don't. They're not consistent in the way that they kind of play it up.
Yeah.
but you know how awesome would it be if Henry Winkler was
That would have been awesome. Principal gone rogue.
the fucking
be
Fonz
iconic.
was the kid?
I know. Like Billy gets stabbed a bunch of times, and then like
Hey.
I was just gonna say,
yeah,
hey.
he chases her around the house, and then she pulls the mask off. It's fucking Fonzarelli. Yeah. So
That'd be
yeah, so
outrageous.
they hang with their boyfriends, Billy Loomis and Stu Macher.
Love this scene.
Yep. Also present is their friend with nervous energy, Randy.
Randy.
Love Randy.
He is insufferable.
Oh
in
my
this
God,
movie.
I
The
love
character
him,
I
though.
cannot
Disagree.
fucking stand.
Disagree. He's the best,
Disagree.
best.
Yep. Because here's the thing: is he's the one who gets it right from the start.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what else he is? He's the how come the nice guy never gets the
Okay,
girl?
that
that's
part's
that,
fair
that,
enough.
right.
Yeah,
that part of
part's
his
Getting some real MRA energy
Yeah,
right
that-
now that I don't care for.
That part's annoying.
yeah, that shit's a little annoying. But like, yeah, he's the guy who gets it right.
And then he does that really great Jerry Lewis impression that I'm sure still holds up real great with the kids these days. They all love Jerry Lewis.
So yeah, Matthew Lillard was cast entirely by coincidence. He showed up to an unrelated audition with his girlfriend and was asked to do Billy's sides while he was there, just hanging out. And he did it with such intensity and weirdness that they passed on him for Billy, but had him come back and read for Stu, and they gave it to him on the spot.
Thank goodness.
He's the perfect
And
Stu. I love him.
I think we can all agree, all four of us can agree, that we all had a crush on him at the time.
yes. And still do.
100%.
Yep.
I still have a crush on Matthew Lillard.
Yep. 100%.
He ages like a fine wine.
Oh, he was in Good Girls and he's like not a very likable character at all. And I was like, I still love you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Even when he showed up in Twin Peaks, I was like, what?
In the new one?
Yeah, he's in Twin Peaks The Return.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's doing all the things.
He's everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Look at Matthew.
Yep. In this script, Randy is described as lanky, gangly, an opinionated fifth wheel.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Yeah.
And the studio was leaning toward Jason Lee, who was just coming off of Mallrats, and also Seth Green, who'd been picking up small parts since Pump Up the Volume. But
I could see Seth Green doing Randy.
I could
He's
see
too-
Seth Green also.
I feel
Yeah.
like he's too dry.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no thanks, Jason Lee.
No. That would be a
He was
strange
busy
one.
with Sea Org.
So after school, Sydney gets her shit together for a sleepover at Tatum's place, and she turns on the TV to kill some time, finds that all any of the news channels want to talk about is the murders of Casey and Steve. And so she settles on a report by Gail Weathers, who reveals the big crime from the past that everybody has been dancing around. Sydney's mother was murdered the year prior, and then she takes a nap and is awoken a little later on, first by a call from Tatum and then a call from the killer playing the same game as with Casey. And she thinks that it's Randy
Tatum-
playing a trick.
Tatum says that she's going to rent some movies and she's going to get all the right moves. Because
If you pause it just
right, you can see Tom Cruise's penis. Now, it is a fact that if you pause all the right moves just right, you can indeed see Tom Cruise's penis.
Look at the gift she gave everybody.
Imagine that being desirable.
The wallpaper in Sydney's house is nauseating.
Oh, the wallpaper I hate.
Yeah.
And the couches are pretty awful too.
Yeah.
The
So
green.
many parents had those kind of patterns. I remember friends' parents.
It looks,
I was like,
it looks
whoa.
like a summer home.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does.
It's very 90s.
Like a couch that not a lot of people sit on.
Yeah.
Like it still has all of the squishiness of a new couch.
Yep.
So the killer lures her outside, terrorizing her over the phone, revealing that he might have been her mother's killer. When Sydney runs back in the house and locks the door behind her, Ghostface pops out of the closet behind her and chases her around the house, trying to kill her. Then they fall down on the floor, struggling. It's a pretty well-concealed stunt actor. And then Sydney fights back, which is a pretty new turn for slasher movies, where the killer is usually a completely irresistible force.
Except she does run up the stairs when
God,
she should have
There's
been
a lot
running
of
to the
just
front
said
door.
that.
falling down the steps.
Yeah.
Just like Aunt Bunny. She runs to her room and blocks the door with her closet door, trying to call 911 on her phone, which has been fucked with, and then on the internet. But the killer flees.
Well, she's using a teletype.
best.
And I don't understand why she has that. So for anyone who does not know, a teletype is for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Oh. You can say what you're doing, and the person on the other end will type it, and then it relays to the person you want to get the other person you actually called.
Is it a
And
teletype
that's
or is
what
it
it's
just her
for.
computer?
It's a teletype program, and it's because I remember because we used to have to use one when I worked at the homeless shelter 100 years ago.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's just like, why does she have this program?
And we all just accepted it.
No, I never
Like,
did.
I accepted that.
I never did
Thank
because I was like, how is that possible? How do you do that?
What even is this?
What is that?
Exactly.
See, when I first
It's
watched it, I was like,
CompuServe.
yep. Yeah, there she goes.
So now the killer flees, unable to get her. And then seconds later, Billy lurches through the window saying, I heard screaming.
Not suspicious
No.
at all.
No. And this is where it is like every single time there's a scene where Ghostface shows up, it's either him suddenly like breathlessly jumping into the scene or Stu breathlessly jumping into the scene. And it's like, oh shit. Like, it is so obvious who these guys are the killers.
Yeah, it may as well be a Scooby-Doo episode.
But this movie is so well written that I just do not care. I'm going to go with it. And like I said, at the end, I'm going to be surprised. So as he comforts her, one of those newfangled cellular telephones falls out of his pocket, causing
His car phone, if you will.
causing Sydney to be instantly suspicious of Billy. She runs from her room and out the front door straight into Dewey, who's holding the mask and screaming because he's also scared.
Holding the
Amazing
mask and a
scene.
gun right behind
Yes.
it, like pointed at her.
Oh, God.
His yell
Yeah.
back at her is awesome.
Yep. They arrest Billy, and as all this is going down, Gail and the news van roll up. There's some character stuff implying that she and Sydney have some kind of sordid past. So now at the police station, they try to get a hold of Sydney's dad, but he's not at the hotel that he said he'd be at.
Uh-oh.
Oop.
Oh, did they try his cellular phone? I
His
love the
cellular
fact they
phone.
say cellular in
Yes.
this movie so many times, and I love it every single
I
time.
always repeat it after they say it's cellular.
They give Billy the business about having a cell phone. Dewey also turns up a similar costume, remarking that it's going to be impossible to track down any purchases since they sell it everywhere.
Every 5 and dime in the state.
So it's chaos outside the police station, so they sneak Sydney out the back. Gail, being a
Is
resourceful...
this when we get our Linda Blair cameo?
Oh, that's not yet.
Not
That's coming
yet.
up. Yep. Gail, being a resourceful reporter, pulls her cameraman around the back to talk to Sydney, who reveals her past with Gail, throws the first of many punches to Gail's face.
Such a
Great.
good one.
Bitch goes down.
Yeah.
A punch that launched 1,000 ships. A year prior, during the trial for the murder of Maureen Prescott, Sydney's mom, Gail reported on the sordid details of the crime and published a true crime novel about the killing to impressive sales. So at Tatum's house, Sydney gets another call from the mysterious killer, taunting her that she accused the wrong guy of killing her mom.
Also, these pajamas they're
Okay, here's the
I
thing.
think every teenage girl in the entire fucking world owned a pair of these cloud pajamas.
Well, here's
Didn't
the
you?
thing.
I sure did.
Yeah.
ABC, always be comfy.
Always be
Oh,
comfy.
yeah,
And also,
absolutely.
even and I think of it every time I watch it, when Tatum is holding that bunny and she's just like making it dance.
And
while
when she
she's
goes,
sitting there.
bam, bitch goes
Yeah,
down.
bam, Sid, super bitch. That bunny, I had that exact same bunny. It has jelly beans on its feet and on its paws. And every time I see it, I was like, I have that bunny. Like I had that exact bunny.
Pajamas and the bunny.
Yep.
So now in the morning, set to the tune of Red Right Hand by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
So
a
good.
song that will never not be awesome.
So good.
Exactly.
This was really the year for Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, because like I think that X-Files soundtrack came out this year, and
Oh, yeah.
Red Right Hand is also on that on that soundtrack.
Because it is
So
one of the
good.
coolest songs.
It really is.
ever.
Yeah.
Let Love In is a fucking awesome record.
Yep.
But yeah. Kind of weird that it's such a central song to this series because it's in like every one of the
they
fucking
also
movies.
he rewrote some of the lyrics, and when that happened, I was like, "Oh, come on, man! You didn't have to do that. It's already an awesome
is.
song."
He's just doing it for the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just like, "Look, this is it. Like, this is where my money's coming from.
So yeah.
Nobody's buying these new records."
Let's go.
We learn that the guy currently in jail for the murder of Maureen Prescott is a guy named Cotton Weary, and he's on death row, and he sounds like he led a Confederate army at some point.
Yeah, what a name.
Also, the fact that like Dewey and Tatum's mom just like turns that on at the breakfast table while her daughter is sitting behind, like it's like this horrible report about
It's
how
the
she was
news.
brutally
There's no
slain.
trigger warnings here.
Yeah, but the mom's just like watching it, and I was like, she went through some shit last night. Maybe turn that off.
Even when she gives her
Yeah.
the phone and she's
This
like,
movie
oh,
gives
Sid.
the impression that the only thing on television in Woodsboro is fucking news reports about
True
murder.
crime news reports. That's it.
So Dewey drives Sydney to school where she is assaulted by news reporter Linda Blair.
Linda Blair.
Yep.
How does it feel to be brutally
jersey
butchered?
Tatum's number 10 jersey is a nod to Glenn's number 10 jersey
Yes.
in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
I love that.
Yep. She stops on the way to talk to Gail, whose book was full of crazy theories that Cotton Weary was the wrong guy. Gail thinks that Cotton Weary and her mother were having sex, but that he wasn't the killer. Someone else killed her, made it look like a rape murder, and split the scene wearing his coat. The last part was witnessed by Sydney and was the detail that made her identify Cotton as the killer. So now...
And this is where the movie gets a little slut-shamey.
That's true.
Well, yeah, because like the way that this shakes out is like everybody, including the student body of the high school, knows about Sydney's mom, and it's like, holy shit.
And they all waste no opportunity to call her a whore.
Yeah.
Every
it's
time.
true.
And it's like, okay, everybody, calm
Like,
down.
she
It was
did get
the
murdered.
90s.
Yeah. So, yeah, with Sydney doubting Cotton's guilty status now, Gail senses an opportunity for a new story. Inside the school, the place is chaos. There's people running around in Ghostface costumes. Sydney, appalled, runs straight into Billy, who lays more of that horny shit on her.
Yeah, he's coming at her with that characteristic Billy charm I've heard so much
When
about.
he says, your mom died a year ago, I think it's time you got over that. I was like,
It's been a
"Oof,
year, Sid.
bro.
I think it's time you got over
I think
it.
it's time you got over
Seriously.
the rape and brutal murder of your mother.
When my
Ew.
mom left my dad, I got over it.
He's like,
It's
look,
the way it is.
I really
She's
need a
bad
beach.
with
You need to
dad.
get over this shit.
I was like, I'm
And
sorry,
that's when we
what?
knew.
Like,
that
shit.
He was the one.
Oh, that guy's
Yeah.
the killer. Yeah. So in the ladies' room, Sydney overhears some girls talking shit about her and her mother.
Some women.
I'm gonna say this right now. The bubble butt boyfriend girl in the bathroom, she follows me on Instagram, and that was a big day.
No
What?
way.
When she just
That part is
Yeah.
always so funny. A bubble butt
I was
boyfriend.
so
She's got her
excited.
own
I was like,
bubble
this,
butt boyfriend,
this is the
Billy.
highlight of my podcasting life.
That's
Honestly.
great. That's top tier.
Shit.
Yep. No,
Wow.
I'll never forget the time Fidelity Investments liked our, I think our Gittera post. And I was
Hell
like, really?
yeah.
What's going on over at Fidelity?
You're like, what's happening there?
We're making it big. We got the bubble butt girl from Scream and Fidelity Investments.
After
What a
they're gone
roster.
and Sydney is recovering, Ghostface leaps out of one of the stalls and attacks again. And she evades him with a sweet baseball slide and runs away.
That was sick.
Did Ghostface go into the bathroom first? Because he would have had to.
Yeah, because he was hiding
yeah.
on a toilet.
Like crouched up.
You can see him put his foot down.
And that's the women's room.
Yep.
Look, I don't want to get all turf on anybody, but that is definitely not a woman.
Yeah, I think he just
That's
snuck
this
on in
MAGA's
there.
worst nightmare come true. So meanwhile, at the principal's office, Principal Himbry is acting like a maniac with two of the students who are running around in the Ghostface costume, threaten them with a big pair of scissors. Outside, Gail flirts with Dewey to get closer to the story, or does she?
And this is when we get I get why everybody loved Gail and Dewey, because they really do
They have
great chemistry.
Great
yeah.
chemistry.
Yeah.
Also, just a quick backup to Principal Himbry. When he takes out those scissors and fake cuts that kid and calls them worthless, desensitized little shits, and that's someone should gut
Oh, yeah,
you.
and every time he moves, the scissors go shing!
Yeah, they're just like,
Yeah.
shing,
Yeah, they
shing, shing. I was like, I would be terrified. If he said you're expelled, I'd be like, good. I don't think I should be at this school.
Sounds
Like,
good.
fuck.
I remember being younger and being like, oh, it's him.
It's him.
Like, I totally thought it was him.
See, even you knew it should have been the
Yeah,
boss.
exactly.
Yep. So then Himbry then suspends classes to the student body's elation, and Stu decides to throw a party.
We love
Now-
Stu.
Yep. Himbry, alone in his office, is trying on the mask and being real silly about everything.
He's the Fonz.
Yeah, but someone keeps knocking on his door. Now, out in the hall, we get a cameo as from Wes Craven as groundskeeper Willie as Freddy Krueger.
I love that.
Yeah,
And even calls him Fred.
And then once he's back in his office, he's brutally attacked by Ghostface and stabbed to death.
Now, apparently, this is Bob Weinstein's idea.
Okay.
Because the movie had been going on too long without any death or violence.
Okay.
And he's like, you got to do something in here. And I am loath to give Bob Weinstein any kind of credit, because fuck the both of them.
Yeah.
Truth.
But he's right.
Yeah, I know. It's
Something
such a
had to happen
silly
here.
scene also.
And the way he yells. Like,
It's very
he's
funny.
so over the top. It's amazing.
I always
love
wondered.
it.
Well, apparently he didn't really know how. He's like, this is not a thing that I do as an actor. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, he's like, I don't die
No,
on
he's like,
screen
no, I
often,
jumped water skis
so-
over a shark.
Yeah. He was great,
That's
though.
what I am iconic for.
He made it hilarious.
He did.
Yep. At Tatum's house, she and Sydney talk about Sydney's mom a bit. seems that Sid.
And that fucking porch on that house.
It's crazy.
Gorgeous.
Huge. There's a shot in this where you see Ghostface like creeping in the woods, and I hate it.
It's
Yeah.
so
It's the one shot
fucking
that
silly.
I'm like, snip it out.
It's too goofy.
It's every
Yeah.
time I see it, I'm like, that is really stupid.
It was
'cause
unnecessary.
again, it feels very Scooby.
Yeah,
Well, and it feels,
I didn't like it.
It feels out of place. Like it doesn't go with any of the vibe of the rest of it.
Because it's very like sneaking.
He's just
through.
Yeah, he's just sneaking through the bushes.
And why
I
is
think
he even
about it,
there?
Well, like that's just Billy dressed up as Ghostface before he goes like what? Like is he just like he was like, oh, gotta put on the costume.
It's so goofy. It's got to be Stu.
A lot of plot holes.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's better.
They
just
could have
to
just
not ask
snipped that
questions.
one out.
Yeah.
Just that one little shot.
Yep. So it seems that Sydney is in denial about her mom's status as the loosest lady in Woodsboro. Meanwhile, Stewie,
I don't know why that was so funny.
That's great.
Her status as the loosest lady in Woodsboro.
She's a real cut up.
Goodness.
God damn.
She is a real cut up.
But literally too.
Stu and Billy go. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah. I hope you're not just going to skip over the Richard Gere comment. Because you know,
Richard
if the Jerry
Gere
Lewis thing didn't do it for the kids. The Richard Gere one will.
I know.
crying.
What is the line? She's like, you can only hear the Richard Gere story so many times
Before you
it's
have to
part
start
it's true.
believing it.
Yep. I wonder if it's true.
You never know.
I am going to go out on a hamster-covered limb and say it's probably not true.
Meanwhile, Stu and Billy go to the video store to hit up Randy for some movies at the party.
I love
Billy
this.
chats up some ladies, indicating that he's maybe not the most devoted boyfriend to Sydney, explaining how he has a whole ass daughter in Scream 5.
Yeah, there's that.
I need to know who her mom is.
Yeah, which one of those bitches is this
It's one of them.
It's a fucking girl in the bathroom, my friend from the internet.
Oh my God. Maybe.
Yeah,
She was trying to
it's
cover
canon
it.
now.
Yep. Randy thinks that Billy might still be the killer because everything about him lines up with horror movie rules, and he's dead on. And not only that, that her dad will show up in the last reel, which he does.
Yeah. Randy's right.
Oh, so this is when he's like, if they'd watched prom
They'd
night,
save
they would
time.
save time.
Yep.
I'm like, how does watching prom night? Because you know what, prom night that is actually a bit of a surprise ending.
Yeah,
That's
no,
true.
yeah, it's just a little bit of cheap name dropping because he's gonna do it again in Scream 2, and he actually name checks Final Exam in that one.
Ooh, don't bring that up, sore subject.
No, that fucking autumn classic.
Apparently, I made too much fun of that movie.
Oh no.
Sorry, the internet.
Yep. So Dewey and the girls. Dewey and the girls head to the station for a minute, discussing who would play Sydney in the movie adaptation of the Ghostface crimes.
I love this, and I love that it happens.
I love that
It's
it comes
such a
back
great
around.
follow through, right?
It
She
is.
says, "With my luck, it would be Tori Spelling." And then
I don't know why they got to take so many cheap shots at Tori.
I know, what did she ever?
The
do?
Hollywood way.
She
Oh,
didn't
it's
deserve
definitely
that.
the Hollywood way.
Poor Tori.
Yeah.
And then Tori
Yep.
took the job.
Yep. Tori Spelling plays Sydney in Stab.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, but also we also get another scene of people like closing up shops and going home again to Red Right Hand.
Yep.
Yep.
Nope. So
Very
yeah,
town that dreaded sundown.
Tatum
Which
even
is
says
interesting
that.
'cause
Yeah.
that's a real deep cut for 1996.
Great movie.
yeah. Well, fucking Final Exam's a deep cut for '97.
That's true.
Yeah. The girls buy food for the party while Dewey talks to the sheriff, who confirms that the calls to Sydney and Casey came from a cell phone belonging to Sydney's missing dad.
A cellular.
Cellular phone. Dewey drops the girls off at Stu's Rager while Gail and her camera guy creep up on the party, running into Dewey. Gail, working her charms on Dewey, sneaks into the party so she can leave a hidden camera to capture anything that might happen there.
This part is so weird because if Gail snuck into my high school party, I'd be like, whose mom is that?
Whose mom's is this?
You
No,
can't
because
be
they're all
here.
like, "It's
But
that
they're all
news
obsessed
lady,
with
yo."
her. They're like,
That's
oh my
true.
God, that's that girl from that show.
From the
Like,
news.
she's like the hot news girl.
That's true.
Because
Yeah.
again, this is Woodsboro, where the only thing on TV is true
Yeah.
crime.
So they're all like, that's that girl.
Yeah.
There's a girl wearing the wildest outfit in this scene.
We pause every time.
She is wearing purple,
Sparkly.
like translucenty, iridescently shiny overalls. over.
Now, see, that's the kind of girl I went to high
And
school with.
over like a maroon shirt, I think it is, or something.
Yeah.
Like it's every time it shakes me to my core.
It's wild.
Because I'm like,
All you got to do is just tease the shit out of those bangs.
It's-
Aquanet, 100%.
damn. And she's just holding a beer like I was like, you're just holding a beer like you're not wearing those. Like what?
Oh, you're just holding a beer like you're not
Like
pregnant.
what the fuck is going on?
So this party scene took 3 weeks of night shoots to complete.
Damn.
Wow.
To be fair, it is about 29 minutes of the
It
movie.
is a long one.
45 minutes long.
Whoa.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Holy
'cause
shit.
for the rest of the movie,
Yeah.
it's
the rest of the movie.
the party at Stu's.
That's
and there's
true.
like
Wow.
50 minutes to go from this point on.
Iconic.
I feel like they do such a good job at pacing it though, because it does not feel
No, it
too
doesn't.
long at all.
No, it's
Which is
engrossing.
That's probably why that middle chunk feels so slow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the opener is a banger that just
Yeah.
goes like fucking fired out of a cannon, and then the ending is really well paced.
Yeah.
But the middle is sort of like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
right. I mean, they got to build a little bit of lore.
Yeah,
and
for
kinda
sure.
Set everything up to knock it all down in the end, basically. So now Tatum goes out to the garage to get some beers. She's the beer wench. We get a jump scare cat, and then she runs into Ghostface, finding that someone had also closed the door to the garage and locked it. So everybody, whenever they run into Ghostface, they think it's Randy automatically.
Yeah, man.
Poor
I don't
Which
know.
I think says a lot about Randy as a person.
Sure does.
He just shows up in costume
Sure
sometimes.
does.
Yeah.
When she launches that beer bottle at his nuts, I was like, that's my girl right there. Like immediate, just bang right into the nuts.
It's a good
Yep.
fight.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, they fight a bit. She smashes some beer bottles on him and then tries to climb through the cat door in the garage door, but she gets stuck.
Bad move.
Yep. Ghostface hits the switch to lift the door and she ends up crushed at the top.
Now, this apparently was Kevin Williamson's assistant's idea, and I'm going to be honest with you. It really feels like an assistant's idea.
I wish she had died differently. I agree with you.
It's the dumbest part of the
I
movie
love it,
because
though.
it's very
I do love it.
unrealistic.
I
It's
do
so
love
iconic.
It just makes me sad.
And it kind of makes me think that they were doing a little bit of a tongue-in-cheeky thing because she's trapped in that thing because of her boobs. Like her
Absolutely.
boobs are the thing that can't get through. And
But apparently they had to nail her shirt to the door because she kept falling out of
because she was so little,
the cat door.
When you look at it, they make it look like it's her boobs that are keeping her from sliding back out.
Yeah.
And right before that, they had just been talking about Jamie Lee Curtis and Scream Queens, and all of them are like, "Oh my God, she's got a great set of lungs," and she's like, "Tits, see." And I wonder if it's like some little cheeky thing, like, and then it was tits.
It
Like,
definitely
how they're in
is,
the
Yeah,
thing.
because-
what they're going to start doing from here on, basically to the end of the movie, because they're watching Halloween at the party, they're going to like show a scene, and then they're going to kind of cut to something else happen at the
Yep.
party that is kind of reflective of that.
Yeah, like
scene.
a little bit of a mirror.
Yeah.
And so I think here is where we get something, maybe the real legacy of this movie is I think people get Carol Clover's work in Men, Women, and Chainsaw confused very much with this movie.
Yeah.
With the rules from
Well,
this movie.
there's
I
a
think
lot
they
of
get
parallels.
mixed up a lot.
For
Yeah.
sure. But yeah. Because this is the scene where after Tatum dies, as if by coincidence, now that she's dead, Billy lurches into the scene.
He leaps out from like the side of the door. Like, who enters a frame that way?
A guy who just murdered somebody. This is what he does every time. Like somebody gets killed, and then Billy just flies into the scene very suddenly.
And there is a very big debate over who murdered Tatum, and it's clearly Billy.
Yeah.
Because he
Stu
even
is
makes
just making the rounds at the party.
People think Stu did it, but it's like, no, Billy did it. And also when she mentions like, I think she says like, you like, don't say that or Tatum will draw blood. Billy like does this face, like clearly he's just done that. And I was like, how is this even a debate?
I know.
Like,
I've
actively
never heard
debated
this because
with
it's always
people.
been very clear to me because that's
Yeah.
He just stripped off the costume and ran to the
And
door.
ran
very
over
suddenly.
there.
That's yeah.
Yeah. Ash, are you of the mind that you always thought it was Stu?
I'm of the mind that it's Stu.
How though?
There's a grunt that he does. I think it's when she throws the beer bottle at him and it sounds just like Stu. And then There's like I forget what happens, but there's a part later where it makes you question if it's Stu or not. He like makes a comment about Tatum that you're like, you know that. I mean, I guess he could know she's dead because it could have been part of the plot, like or the plan.
Well, because it was
all
part of
along.
the plan to kill her. For
I don't know.
We're gonna find out a little bit later that he's maybe not that interested in his girlfriend.
That's
anyway.
true.
I'm gonna hold on to that because I've got.
It's when
thoughts.
it's when he does that look when she says Tatum will draw blood.
I need to
and
see
he does
that.
this clear like he like looks off to the side like. "Ugh."
I've never noticed that.
So anyways, Billy wants to talk, and they head up to Stu's parents' room to talk. Meanwhile, out in the van, Gail and Kenneth, the cameraman, watch the hidden camera. But there's a delay of about 30 seconds, which will be important a little later on. So Sydney and Billy talk it out, and then they do it.
And she immediately goes into apologizing,
Yeah.
which is so probably 100% accurate,
Yeah.
but also super, super sexist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, she's apologizing. And my note actually says, don't you dare apologize to Billy. He's a date raper.
Yeah.
Don't you do it.
Listen, Sydney, you don't got to apologize. You don't know him shit.
No,
No,
it's true.
No, kick him the fuck out of that house.
Go at your own pace, girl.
Yeah.
And go with your gut too, because even when they finish up, she has questions and she's on the right track.
But it really is so real. Like
It
it's
is
played
real.
exactly how, unfortunately, it would often go.
Yeah, agreed.
Downstairs, everyone watches Halloween, leading to Randy's iconic horror movie rules monologue.
So good.
I
But
love
first, so they're watching the scene where Bob gets killed in the house, and one of the guys
Yes.
says, "Why does the blood look like
There's
that?"
no blood
And
in that
my note
scene.
says there's no blood in that scene.
It's too
Oh.
red.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep. Rule 1, you can never have sex. Rule 2, you can never drink or do drugs. It's an extension of number 1. And rule number 3, never under any circumstances say, I'll be right back.
Because you won't be back.
I'll be right back. That's my favorite.
Now, regarding Rule 1, he says Jamie Lee was always the virgin in horror movies. That is entirely untrue. Jamie Lee is in The Fog, where she very obviously has sex with Tom Atkins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We go over this in great depth in our Halloween episode, which if you've not heard it, it's like one of our top episodes. Like it's one of my favorites. And goddamn, do we explore that fucking dimension
get
of Jamie
her.
Lee Curtis.
Yeah, have you ever wanted to listen to us talk for 3 hours?
Yes.
Every day.
Well,
the
this is
time.
the podcast for you. That's true. Yep. Also, yeah, one of the things, what does Randy say? He says, I'll see you in the kitchen with a knife.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he definitely will.
Yep.
So later, Dewey grabs Gail. They take a walk down the road a piece to check out a report of a car in the bushes. They're supposed to set up Dewey as the potential killer, I guess.
I never. Who would have bought that?
I know.
Never.
Inside the house, the back and forth between Randy and Halloween reflects what's happening in the bedroom upstairs. And then Randy gets a call informing him that Himbry is dead, and this causes everybody at the party to run out so they can go see the body.
Like a bunch of goddamn savages.
I mean, they did just get expelled. So they're
Yep.
pissed.
Yeah.
Being a
He
bunch
did take a,
desensitized, whatever.
Heartless, desensitized little shits.
And isn't he on the flagpole? I mean, you kind of got to see
Hung him
that.
from the goalpost
Yeah, oh, the goalpost.
on the football field.
Yeah. So the kids speeding along in the car cause Dewey and Gail to leap into the bushes where they kiss, and then they find a car. It's Sydney's dad's car.
Dun, dun, dun.
Really ruins the moment.
Yep. What a bummer. When they're done with the sex, Sydney and Billy, she asks him who he called when he was arrested, and she senses a hole in his story.
Now, I gotta, she has sex with him and then immediately is like, hey, you're really suspicious about everything.
You know
I
what?
have some questions.
I have thought about this. I think the line is supposed to be kind of playful, but he immediately darkens
He gets
and is like, well, what do you
aggressive.
mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and also,
Well, before they have sex, there's some great lines in this whole scene in general, but right before they have sex, one of the things he says is, it's all a great big movie, only you can't pick your genre. And it's the way that he says it that I was like, God damn, Skeet Ulrich is actually really
he
fucking
is. He's
good.
really
He's
good.
so good.
Because that's a great line that could have been really
It could have been
cheesy.
botched. And I was thinking about it the last time I watched this, that I was like, oh yeah, like the whole thing where she's like, it's really smart, like using your one phone call to call me, so I don't think it's you. And I was like, but he didn't. He definitely didn't, because he didn't have his voice changer. Like they would have
Also,
taken
why
that.
didn't you ask that before having sex?
Like they would have. So that was definitely Stu who called.
Yeah.
Because like there's no way you're in jail with a voice changer
Definitely not.
when like that's what's happening and that's what you're being held for.
And they probably
Good point.
confiscated his cellular phone.
Yeah, so it's like he couldn't just
cellular.
whip out a voice changer and talk into the police phone. Like,
They take everything but that.
yeah.
They're like, this will be funny in the cell for later.
So, his mood darkens, but then he's attacked from behind by Ghostface, stabbed several times.
And it's not believable when he's like, oh, ow. I'm like, no, Sydney, you should have known then.
But like he's right there.
Now,
But he is right
Ghostface
there.
chases Sydney around the house to the attic where she climbs out the window, and then he grabs her there, but she falls, breaking her fall on a boat covering below.
That had to have hurt. And she
Yeah.
recovers
Every
so
time-
quickly.
She
I
does.
just think, like, what if your back lands on one of the seats?
That's what I thought.
Yes. You
Yep.
ooh.
Crunch ya.
And she should have had, that's your idea that it was Stu because he comes out of that other door and meets her. And I was
Yeah.
like, that man knows that house. I didn't know that other door was there.
Because that's a big old house.
Yeah.
You've really thought this through.
I've watched this movie a lot.
Oh, yeah. Myriad
down,
of times.
down in the living room, Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy, talks to the screen as Michael Myers sneaks up on Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. As Ghostface sneaks up on him, he's saying things like, "Watch out, Jamie. He's right around the corner, Jamie. He's right
love
behind
it.
you, Jamie." As Ghostface comes around the corner and sneaks up from behind
I love
Jamie
that.
Kennedy. I do love that.
It's so good.
You know how I know you loved it? It was all the emphasis that you put on Jamie.
I want to make sure you
Jamie.
know what I'm talking about. Some people are a
Yeah.
little slow.
His name's Jamie. Her name's Jamie. They're both being snuck up on.
See, you
It's
get
funny.
it. You get it.
See?
So Ghostface is about to kill the oblivious Randy when he hears Sydney outside and resumes the chase. She runs up to the news van and gets in. They watch the scene, her and Kenneth, where they're about
Poor
to run in and
Kenneth.
help Randy because they see,
Kenny.
30 seconds ago, when he leaps out and runs straight into Ghostface's knife, getting it right across the throat.
Poor guy.
Now, apparently, this scene was supposed to be a lot gorier.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, they had to
Pretty
trim her.
gory.
It's pretty gory.
You see the big old chunk out of his neck.
And then as she escapes, Ghostface manages to stab Sydney in the shoulder. Yeah. So now Gail and Dewey return. Dewey runs into the house. Gail gets into the news van, finding it empty. She calls 911, knocks Randy out by accident, and then finds the van's windshield covered in blood.
That was cool.
Covered in Kenny.
When she tries to do this to wipe it off.
I would probably do that too, though, because I'm an
I
idiot.
probably would too, but it's just funny to watch.
It is.
Yep. Driving away wildly, it knocks the body of Kenneth loose from the roof of the van, and his dead body slides down and away as Gail drives away like a crazy person.
When she says,
"Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Kenny."
But get off my fucking windshield.
Wait, I also love he's eating Cheetos earlier and he's like annoying the shit out of Gail. And when she finds him, there's just one
This is
Cheeto in
bag
the
of
blood.
Cheeto, yeah. When Sydney,
love that.
so then she drives off the road when Sydney jumps into the street trying to get her attention. So now Sydney runs into the house and Dewey comes out, knife stuck in his back, followed closely by Ghostface.
Oh.
Yep.
And this was supposed to be his death.
Oh no!
But I
shit.
guess test audiences liked him too much.
I'm glad.
So they filmed two different endings in the event that they did get a sequel. They could use him again.
I like that.
Yeah. So she hides in Dewey's patrol jeep. Then she calls the station from the radio while Ghostface climbs into the jeep from the back, attacking again.
Rolly windows.
Yeah. And then she runs into the house, grabbing Dewey's gun. Randy comes up, followed closely by Stu, each of them accusing the other of being the killer. And believing neither of them, she locks them both out, which is
Smart girl.
I love that. Every time she does it, I'm like, yes.
Or she say like, fuck
Correct.
both of you.
Fuck you both.
So once inside, Billy, mortally wounded, or so it seems, comes tumbling down the steps.
In that ribbed
Yep,
shirt. And
the
again,
ribbed
it is
white
the most
shirt.
90s thing I've ever seen.
Tight, white, ribbed shirt.
Be still my heart.
Like an idiot, she hands over the gun to Billy, who opens the door and lets Randy in.
She goes from such a high to a low.
Yep. And then he says, we all go a little mad sometimes. And then he shoots Randy and reveals
That-
himself to be the killer. Showing off
That
the fake
line
blood.
set a lot of people on a path. I can tell you right now.
Yep.
The way he says that line, I think it's right up there.
There it is.
Yep. In the kitchen, Stu shows up with the voice changer, indicating that he's also the killer.
Oops.
See, not only did Billy and Stu kill everybody in the movie, they also killed Sydney's mom and set up Cotton Weary to take the fall.
Because let's face it, Sid, your mom's no Sharon Stone.
I love that.
Yep. The reason they killed her is because Sydney's mom slept with Billy's dad and broke up his family.
So I think now is a good time to pause and talk about some retroactive lore building. Because not that long ago, I think it was about a year ago or so, Kevin Williamson publicly stated that Billy and Stu are a gay couple. I don't know if I believe that.
I don't either.
I don't know why you would add that or make a statement like that.
Well, okay, I'm going to tell you this. This is certainly not the first time I've heard that. One of the earliest queer horror blogs that I can think of was a blog called Billy Loves Stu, and that was probably around 2007. It was right around when I started Cinema Suicide. I sort of ended up in kind of like a league of writers with that guy, and that was something like his entire blog was sort of hinged on that premise.
I always thought it was just like a shipping thing. Like,
oh sure, it's because of their body language in this next in the coming.
People
scenes.
was just like, I want them to be like, but it's like, I don't.
There is a lot
get
of
that.
like what's his Stu?
Matthew Lillard.
Fuck is this? Yeah. So he does a lot of weird shit throughout the movie where he like invades people's space. Like there's the scene where he's like flicking Randy's earlobe.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weird stuff like that, but I think that's more just to kind of like throw people
Yeah, I think
off,
that's just
makes
a character
people
choice.
uncomfortable.
When he's just like obnoxious.
Yeah, there's nothing about their behavior that says that this, and so I think it's just very weird for Kevin Williamson to be like, oh yeah, no, that's totally what I had in mind, because I don't think that that's true.
Yeah.
But also, it feels like a weird thing to be like, oh, also they're gay. It's like, well, why are they gay? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, like where do you see that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't see that at all between them.
No.
Because hey, I'm all for representation,
Yeah.
unless they're serial killers.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't really
leave
want
that
them to
out.
be,
Unless you
like,
feed
yeah.
the single
Not a good
trope
rep.
we've ever had about gay people in movies.
Exactly.
So
I don't know. I'm not buying
No.
it.
Yeah, I don't either.
no, I think that it is something that has been kind of floating around the internet
Yeah.
for a long time.
I've definitely
And he
seen that.
It kind of like the whole Janet Leigh Psycho thing. Like he probably picked that up on like a fucking blog somewhere.
I was like, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stu and Billy have a plan for the whole thing. On the 1-year anniversary of her mother's murder, they plan to set up her dad for the murders, which happens to be this very night. To put him on the scene, it turns out that they kidnapped her dad and kept him in storage for the end game. And then they
It's very elaborate.
Very
and then they
left.
fabricated all the evidence they need to point to Sydney's dad ending in his suicide. To include themselves in the victims list, Billy and Stu stab each other a bunch to make it look like they were attacked by her father.
And so the line he says right here is that movies make psychos more creative. That line will become very important in the next year
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
because of Columbine.
That was 99, but yeah.
So this is around this is in that that kind of moral panic over video games and like heavy metal
Yep.
music, late 90s music. It's just very interesting that this is a movie that is pre that, but it's sort of right on the edge.
That line is the sort of impetus for the entire script. Apparently Williamson kind of thought of that and then was like, I'm going to write an entire script around that, and thus Scream was born, or a scary movie.
Yeah, because he probably thought it was like, hey.
It is a pretty
Yeah.
good line. I'm going to give
It
it
is.
to you.
It's a great line.
Definitely.
There's a lot of the dialogue in this movie is very good.
Particularly this part, the
Yep.
whole thing, like this movie is backloaded with so much awesome shit, and a lot of it is ad-libbed by Matthew Lillard.
Wow.
Yeah, like when he gets hit by the phone.
The my mom and dad are going to be so mad line was something that he came up with.
I love
And it is
that.
the best line in the
It
entire
is.
movie.
And the way he delivers it is so good.
And when he calls Billy a dick, Billy really accidentally did hit him with
Hit
the
me
phone.
with the phone, dick.
So Stu, injured from Billy stabbing him, goes to get the gun that he put down earlier, but he finds that it's missing now. It turns out that Gail has it and has heard the whole thing. And so she holds him at gunpoint, but Billy advances on her anyway. And when she tries to shoot him, nothing happens because the safety was on the whole time. And he knocks her out on the porch next to Dewey's body, But now Sidney is missing, so he's too distracted to kill him. So now Sidney with the voice changer calls the house phone and starts, menacing Billy and Stu instead.
Love that.
Yep, love it. Sidney taunts Billy, which drives him crazy, and then she lures him near the garage door and attacks him in the Ghostface costume with an umbrella.
So apparently he has, from some like childhood injury or whatever, he has mesh in his chest.
Oh, shit.
And when she hit him with that, she like hit the mesh.
Oh.
It's apparently very painful. So the look on his face when she does that is real.
Oh, shit.
Yep. She's about to recover the weapons when Stu jumps out and attacks her, and they struggle a bit until she hits him with a vase and then tips the TV over on his head, electrocuting him.
But not killing him.
He does not die.
Thinking it's over, Sidney, like an idiot, comes over to rest near Billy's body when Randy lurches into the scene, still alive because of his virgin status. But Billy's not done. He gets on top of Sidney, trying to strangle her, but she fights him off, pressing her fingers into one of the stab wounds.
Genius.
He is so scary in this moment.
It's the wild eyes.
When it's so scary. When he like growls, whatever he says at her, it's like, damn. When he says, say hello to your mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's so good in that. I was like, I'm terrified.
Yeah, it's whenever I watch it and get to this scene, I'm just like, God damn, this movie is so good.
It is. You're just like, fuck.
Yep. So he's about to stab her when Gale steps in and shoots him.
Hell yeah.
So now the three last survivors stand over Billy's body, and Randy warns them that he'll come back for one last scare. And when he does, Sidney shoots him in the face and says, not in my movie. But
hell yeah.
He did. He did come back for one last scare.
Exactly. I know. It's like, you just got him.
Yep. So when the police show up and as the sun rises, Gale sets up in front of a camera to tell the story as we crane shot away. Fade to black, roll credits.
And we end on that really awesome Moby song that I always forget about.
Yep.
Yes.
Great song.
Motherfucker, what a movie.
Such a good movie.
I like that a lot of people live.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I agree.
Yeah. Usually it comes down to the killer and one survivor, but no, we get three.
Yeah.
Three very likable characters. In spite of the fact that like Courtney Cox is kind of deliberately set up to be like a conniving bitch.
Yeah,
like,
you still like her.
It
works.
But you love her because she adds some kind of like comedy that's not mean or that is not designed to a certain end. Like you get kind of comedy from Stu and Billy, but they're the killers.
Yeah.
You get her, she's just sort of a bitchy kind of professional climber.
Well, and hers is earned because in the end, she was 100% correct.
Right.
Like the whole Cotton Weary thing, like she was right. You saw someone leave wearing his coat. The same someone that had the same fucking mushroom haircut as your boyfriend. Like she was right. So in the end, you're just like, wow. Like, yeah, she was on it.
Yeah, even though it was just for
did your
book
mother's
sales.
killer look weirdly wet for some reason?
They both had the same
That's
haircut.
I didn't know.
It's perpetually sweaty.
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn. Scream is so fucking good, man.
It's so good.
I love it.
So here's how we end this show. I'm going to start with Ash. How do you think, and you didn't see this movie in 1996,
I did
but
not.
Presuming, let's pretend you did. How do you think it holds up now?
Oh, I think it holds up really well. Yeah, I don't have any qualms with it.
Alaina?
I think it holds up brilliantly, but I think it holds up to you looking at it. Like it's hard to explain because it's like you can't look at it through a 2024 lens because it's so different. Like, the cell phone being like the main thing of like, it's got to be this motherfucker because he has a cellular phone. And like, that's wild, like that kind of thing. Like those things just obviously wouldn't work in a movie made that's set today. But I still think it holds up so well because I think it's like in that little like chasm between pre and post internet, pre and post cell phone kind of thing. Pre and post, everybody can connect to everybody and know where everyone is. Yeah. It's like right there in the middle.
Big Red, how about you?
It's not exactly there's a couple of things that sort of exclude it from this classification, but I would almost call it timeless. It doesn't feel like super rooted in the 90s, even though there's definitely touches that place it there, but so many movies have come after it that still kind of look like Scream that it resonates the same way with me that like Halloween does. Like it's a movie that gets better every time I watch it. I'm always finding new little details in it. You know, I like all of the characters. I love the killer.
Yep.
Yeah, through and through, you know.
I'm going to hit you with a theory as to why I think it ages very well. The late 90s and early 2000s are sort of notorious for casual racism and sexism and homophobia, and that's usually what tanks a lot of this shit that makes it really hard to watch sometimes. I think the fact that this is written by a gay man, he maybe unconsciously sidesteps a lot of that stuff because you just wouldn't do it. Like, not to say that, you know, gay men can't be sexist and homophobic and racist. They absolutely can and very often are. But I think he wouldn't put it in so casually. It would have to be deliberate.
That makes sense.
Because it doesn't do that, it doesn't feel like, oh, right, this is from another time.
Yep.
The fashion definitely takes us back. But for an era that is, you know, characterized as particularly unsavory at times, it manages to avoid a lot of those traps. I think that's one of the reasons why it holds up.
Yeah.
It also just it's a very well written movie.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
What we were talking about earlier is that I don't think this movie revitalized horror the way that people think it did. I think it is kind of an outlier in the 90s. There's a shitload of knockoffs that come out after this that are just sort of like diminishing returns on all of them. They're, you know, Valentine and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, they're fun to watch,
not
but
speak
they are
ill.
nowhere near as good as this. This is a very well-made movie. And I think that it's more of an anomaly than it is this sort of iconic thing that shifted horror, because what we get right after this is that shitty era of remakes, like non-stop remakes. So I think it sort of stands alone as something very important rather than something that sort of really shifted the genre in a new direction.
Yeah, I might argue that it wasn't necessarily a net positive, but it certainly did revitalize the genre because like it or not, those remakes were seen by a lot of people, were enjoyed by a lot of people, and made a lot of money, which is why there were so fucking many of them.
They're terrible. Hate them all. None of them.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop saying that.
And things like Valentine and I Know What You Did Last Summer
They're so fun.
are so fun.
I love Valentine.
They brought back like fun.
Yeah, I mean, we just
feel.
did I Know What You Did Last Summer recently, and I think that was kind of our consensus on it. Was like,
It's just fun. Yeah.
It's fun to watch it. It's nothing new. It's nothing good. It's like it's reminiscent of other things, but this felt fresh.
No, it absolutely did.
Yeah. All right. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having us,
thank you.
especially for this movie.
It's always fun to come on.
I can't think of anybody else I'd rather talk about Scream with.
Aww.
I think I can recite this movie from like beginning to end.
I've seen it.
Yeah, just doing this right now, I'm like, wow, I've seen this too many times.
We got time. I think we're under 3 hours. So if you
All right, settle in, everyone.
I mean, apart from Morbid, I mean, you got anything you want to plug? I know you got a new book coming out.
I do.
Plug that shit.
Yeah, the sequel to The Butcher and the Wren, The Butcher Game, comes out September 17th. You can pre-order anywhere. It's pretty sick when you pre-order. Helps me out a lot. And also, you might get the book like a day early. Sometimes that happens. So roll those dice.
And you're going on a little bit of a tour, a little bit of a press tour.
I am. I'm doing a little bit of a tour, and Ash is going to be at a lot of those stops, actually.
Hell yeah, brother.
We're hitting New York,
pulling it up. I'm pulling
Pennsylvania.
It up. Hold on. The amount of times I've looked at this post.
I was going to say, Ash knows it better than I do.
I don't even know it. I just look at the post. We've got New York, Harrisburg, Hingham, Great Barrington, Plainville, and then we'll be back in the Berkshires area and Stockbridge for a murder mystery party.
Hell yeah.
All right.
I'm planning my
I was just going to say,
So
Dave will be there.
I will be there for a murder mystery party. I'll be there for one of the other things.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. Dave, what's next?
Hey, 99 Cent Rental is going to be back next week, and we are going to be talking the Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, 1991. This show, Bring Me the Axe, will be back in 2 weeks. We're going to be celebrating Latin American Heritage Month. We're going to be talking about the 1931 Spanish language version of Universal's Dracula, which is a rare occasion in which an American film was entirely recast and reshot for an international audience. I think we have a guest for that, too.
We do have a guest for that one. It's going to be fun. Mm-hmm. All right. Be back here in a week when 99 Cent Rental is back with Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. That one's going to be fucking crazy, you guys. And I'll be back in 2 for Dracula.
Yeah, El Dracula.
El Dracula.